Chapter 698. Desolate Bone Forest is one of the top 8 danger zones in Heaven Realm. If you go in casually and encounter a dangerous area, you will die without a doubt. The reason why this place is called Desolate Bone Forest is that there are countless bones here, basically all kinds of bones. There are dragon bones, phoenix bones, or the bones of other races. These were all very valuable things. So many cultivators came to search for them to see if they could try their luck and find precious skeletons. If they find it, they can either sell it for money or absorb it themselves. Both are very good choices. After all, most of them are human race. Their own bloodline is a shortcoming. If they can absorb the bloodline of other powerful races, it will definitely be a little good for them. The problem is that skeletons are very difficult to find. A lot of them have been dug out, and the rest are buried in a very deep area. It happens to be the most dangerous area. If you go there casually, it will lead to the end of death. To put it bluntly, come here to find skeletons, or find some strange spirit medicine. Other than that, there is nothing else. There is no inheritance here. The situation of Desolate Bone Forest is caused by the Battle of Heaven Realm. After a crazy battle, this area appeared. Because there are a lot of skeletons here, blood flowed like a river, so the trees that grow here are very strange. Not only are they thick and big, the key point is that some of them have spirit. The result of becoming a spirit was that it could attack. Just like in the passageway to the netherworld, if it suddenly attacked, it would be fatal. Of course, these tree demons are also worth a lot of money. Many medicine shops will buy them. As for who to avoid ambush, it is better not to worry about it. A little carelessness can lead to death. There is no safety to speak of. Tianyan, what are we doing in this desolate bone forest? Sure, Shuoyan still knows about the major places in Heaven Realm. Although she can't come out, she can still understand the general situation from the books. If she doesn't even know the situation here, she will have to spend more effort to go out. It is really a waste of time. They are in here. Tianyan said with certainty. Soul guidance can't be wrong. If it is wrong, then it will be a waste of 3 million crazy points. They are in here? No way. This is Desolate Bone Forest. Is the more dangerous the place, the safer it is? Sure, Shuoyan was puzzled. I don't know if it's safe or not, but at least some of our people are coming after us now. Tianyan shrugged helplessly. Suddenly, 3 Spirit King stage cultivators surrounded them, and their eyes were filled with greed. I don't know where this brat came from, but not only did he bring a stunning beauty with him, he even has a phoenix accompanying him. Looks like it's a mutated phoenix. A blue phoenix. Not bad. I wonder which great family's disciple came here to gain experience. He looks so young. TSK, look at how beautiful and tender this girl is. It's much more tender than the ones I've seen. Looks like we're going to be rich today. We've only been waiting for a short while, and a fat sheep has already appeared. Our luck is really not bad. As soon as they arrived, they were immediately targeted. It was obvious that they were hiding nearby and had been doing this kind of shady business. What could make money faster than robbery? Rather than braving the danger and going in, it was better to wait outside and see if there were any fat sheep coming out. This is indeed a dangerous place. Just these robbers alone occupy half of the dangerous place. Tianyan joked. Tianyan, don't worry about them. If sister and the others are inside, it will be very dangerous. Let's go in and have a look. Sure, Shuoyan was too lazy to care about them as she was worried about Jiao Lingyi's safety. Yo, boss, the 2 of them don't take us seriously. One of them laughed evilly, feeling that it was quite amusing. It seems like they are the disciples of a great family who just came out to gain experience. They are used to being arrogant and think that they can do whatever they want in this place. But it's more interesting this way. Let's kill the man first and keep the woman. Will. Xiao. A cold light pierced through, directly nailing the boss to the ground. Then with a xiong sound, a ferocious inextinguishable flame immediately engulfed him. He didn't even have time to scream before he was burned to a crisp. It should be said that the cold light had pierced through his head, and even his soul had been punctured. How could he still be alive? Ding. Successfully killed a 3rd-layer Spirit King stage robber. Reward 250 million EXP, 25,000 crazy points, 15,000 crazy points. Reward. Poisonous Dragon Palm, Soul Driving Secret Art. Reward. Poisonous dragon armor, low-grade sacred tool. Poisonous dragon boots, low-grade sacred tool. Poisonous dragon pill, 1 million EXP pill. Now that he killed a Spirit King stage expert and got a sacred tool, it was really easy to make money. Tianyan didn't care about sacred tools at all. He could get a lot of sacred tools at any time. Tianyan didn't want to improve his forging technique at all. He could use it before, but now he could get a lot of sacred tools just by killing a group of scums. Boss. Their boss was killed in an instant, and the person who killed their boss was the young man who had mocked them before. He killed their boss in an instant, scaring them out of their wits. They turned around and ran as fast as they could, but they couldn't outrun Tianyan's attack. Tianyan raised his hand again, and 2 cold lights pierced through them, nailing them to the ground or a giant tree. They didn't get ignited but started to wither, and finally turned into a pile of sand on the ground. Such a big living person had been turned into a desert just like that. The power was astonishing. This was the effect of the Desolate Ancient set. After equipping it, Tianyan could release terrifying power with a wave of his hand. After being hit by the Desolate Ancient set, Tianyan could release terrifying power with a wave of his hand. It seems that I have to put away the Indigo Phoenix, or else it will be a crime. Tianyan put away Indigo Phoenix. It's not that he is afraid of trouble, but he wants to find his parents as soon as possible. If someone keeps intercepting them, they won't be able to go in. Yeah. Shuoyan nodded in agreement. Looking at the desert on the ground, she was shocked. It seems that Tianyan's power is even stronger than before. Let's go. Tianyan hugged her and flew inside. Flying is not allowed here, but flying in the air is not necessarily safe. It is also extremely dangerous. Shuoyan didn't panic at all. She knew that as long as Tianyan was by her side, he wouldn't let her get hurt. Sister, are you really here? Shuoyan's beautiful eyes were filled with hope. If he was really here, there was no need to look for him. Chapter 699. After a small interlude, it proved that the forest was very chaotic. They had encountered so many robbers before they even entered the forest. What would happen after they entered the forest? The danger of the Desolate Bones forest was mainly due to the number of robbers. If they came in alone or with only a few people, they would easily become a target. This target wouldn't become a target the moment they entered. Instead, they would only become a target after they exited. Tianyan and the others rode on a phoenix, which was a divine beast, and having a divine beast as a mount wouldn't be bad. So they immediately surrounded them, but they never thought that they would encounter a heaven-defying existence and get killed so easily. If they were given another chance, they would definitely run as far as possible and never come back. It could only be said that their judgment was wrong. They thought that even if they couldn't defeat the 3 Spirit King stage cultivators, they would at least be able to run away. Who would have thought that they would be killed instantly? The reason why they dared to rob without fear was mainly because they were in the wilderness. Even if it was a disciple from a powerful sect, they were not afraid. There were only 2 people here. Who would know if they killed them? Even if they knew that they were dead, they would never know who killed them. They had done this kind of thing many times, so they were very familiar with it. The Qi here is really heavy, and there is poisonous fog everywhere. If we stay here for a long time, I am afraid that ordinary cultivators would have already been poisoned. Tianyan observed his surroundings. There is poisonous gas around him, it's corpse poison, and it's a very strong one. If they were below the core transformation stage, they would be dead for sure. Because cultivators above the core transformation stage could fly, they would be able to avoid the poisonous fog, but if they were below the core transformation stage, they would have to walk. If they walked on foot, they would absorb more and more poisonous fog, and it would be very easy for them to be poisoned. If there was no one to save them and take the antidote pill, they would die here. Even so, there were still many people who took the risk to enter the forest. These were all ordinary rogue cultivators, and in order to further their cultivation, they had to take the risk and choose this method. As they went deeper into the forest, the surrounding environment was getting worse and worse. It was obviously daytime, but it was pitch black inside, and the sky was covered with black fog, making the forest look very gloomy. Shuo! Suddenly, countless tree vines coiled up from below, wrapping around them from all directions, sealing off all paths of retreat. In the next moment, a burst of fire gushed out, burning the tree vines that were entangling him into ashes. At the same time, the inextinguishable fire burned down the tree vines, and in the blink of an eye, the whole tree was burned to ashes. Screams could be heard in the process of burning, and it sounded quite ear-piercing. It sounded quite strange, as if a person was being burned to death. If one looked closely, it was a big tree that was burning, which made one's hair stand on end. Even the demonic tree's cultivation is above void spirit stage. This place is really dangerous. Tianyan looked at the burning demon tree below and couldn't help but sigh. A dangerous situation was indeed a dangerous situation. It was really dangerous. Cultivators below the void spirit stage really couldn't get close to this place. If they couldn't even deal with a single demonic tree, how would they be able to find treasures? Sure enough, even the sky wasn't necessarily safe. There would still be many demonic trees here. In addition to the demon tree, he could actually see many demon beasts lying in ambush at the side. Because he did not go near, those demon beasts did not pounce on him. The level of the demon beasts here was not low. The lowest was at core transformation stage, and the strongest was even at void spirit stage. If they pounced on him, it would be really dangerous. Yes, this place is too dangerous. I hope sister will not encounter any danger. Shuoyin was worried. The deeper they flew, the more dangerous they felt. If it weren't for Tianyan's protection, she would have been trapped here, especially since she liked to travel alone. It was almost impossible for her to ask for help. Along the way, they did not see anyone nearby, so it was very difficult for them to ask for help. Don't worry, I feel that we are almost there, let's speed up a little. Tianyan hugged her tightly and suddenly increased their speed, flying forward at a faster speed. Their previous speed was already fast enough, but now their speed was even more amazing. At the same time, in the gloomy forest in front of them, a beautiful woman was hiding on the side, staring at the dark abyss in the distance. No one knew how long she had been squatting here, hiding her breath, as if her whole body had merged with the rocks on the side, so people outside could not see her at all. Why is it not out yet? It has been 2 weeks. The woman's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's eyes, staring at the area in front of her. Finally, a blood-red light flashed in front of her, followed by a blood-red grass climbing out of the ground. The woman's eyes lit up, and her heart couldn't help but beat faster, but she did not act immediately. After this grass climbed out of the ground, it began to absorb the yin qi in the sky, continuously absorbing it. But it didn't take long. It saw a mass of dense yin qi in front of it, attracting its attention. Soon after, Xiaoqiao really did run over. She rushed into the ball of yin qi and began to absorb it madly. As if it had not drunk water for many years, it swallowed the yin qi in big mouthfuls. But it didn't wait for it to swallow for too long. Suddenly countless rays of light bloomed from the ground, forming a sturdy cage that enveloped the grass. Moreover, there were also rays of light that tightly bound it. Xiaoqiao struggled unceasingly, and even let out a hoo-hoo sound. Her body also released a red blood energy to corrode the light that was binding her. Under the surging yin energy, it really began to quickly melt the light that was binding her. But at this moment, the woman hiding on the side shot out like a sharp arrow, her hands quickly forming seals. The large formation that was trapping Xiaoqiao blossomed with a dazzling light. Circle after circle, Xiaoqiao was tied up like a rice dumpling. In the end, when the grass was bound and unable to move, the woman's face revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. She hurriedly ran over, took out a jade box, and placed the grass inside, then sealed it. Great, I finally caught the blood-drinking grass. At least I didn't waste all these years of effort. She was extremely excited. Just as she was about to put it into her bosom, suddenly, 4 rays of light stabbed into the ground near her, forming a cage that locked the area nearby. In fact, they were actually 4 chains. Jiao Lingyi, I really have to thank you for helping me catch the blood-drinking grass. If it wasn't for you, we really wouldn't have been able to catch it so easily. We really can't draw this kind of yin-gathering formation. Without this formation, it would have been really hard to catch. Chapter 700. And here I was wondering who it was. So it's the Heavenly Blood 4 bandits. I didn't expect you to be hiding in the corner, unwilling to come out. You really know how to stalk the Oriole. Jiao Lingyi sneered, but she was already thinking about how to escape. She kept looking around, trying to find the best way to escape. It was not a dead end, but there was only half of it. There was a big mountain in front of them, and if they ran they would be caught. The Heavenly Blood 4 bandits' cultivation was not weak. The strongest was at the 7th layer of Spirit King stage, and the weakest was at the 4th layer of Spirit King stage. Jiao Lingyi's cultivation was at the 5th layer of Spirit King stage, which was in the middle of the group. Their names were Tian Sha, Tian Shui, Tian Yu and Tian Hui. No one knew their real names, only their titles. Since they were called the 4 bandits, it meant that they were bandits who committed all kinds of crimes. You don't need to look around. Do you think you can escape from us? Tian Sha sneered. You escaped several times before, but you won't be so lucky this time. Do you think you can escape after being trapped here by our 4 locks? Yes, our 4 locks are very powerful, and we even trapped a 9th layer Spirit King stage cultivator. I can still remember the helpless look in his eyes. Tian Shui sneered and stared at Jiao Lingyi from top to bottom. He licked his lips and said, "Your body is really good. I have rarely tasted a female Spirit King stage cultivator. This time, I will get what I want, right?" Tian Shui, don't be disgusting in front of me. I wonder if you will eat your own woman in the future. Tian Yu showed a disgusted expression, but he didn't say anything. Tian Shui said that he would really eat people. Tian Shui loved to eat people the most. As long as it was edible, he would not let it go. Alright, this chick will definitely let me have a good time first. She has ruined our plan time and time again. This time, after we catch her, let me ravage her. Tian Hui licked his lips. The woman in front of him was so beautiful. How could he let her go? He didn't care about ordinary women. Only those with high cultivation and ability would give him a greater sense of accomplishment. There was no way the 4 of them would let go of Jiao Lingyi, especially the blood-drinking grass. Regardless of whether it was the blood-drinking grass or the human, they would not let them go. Spoiling your plans? You're the one who's spoiling my plans, Jiao Lingyi said coldly. Other than robbing, what else do you know? Won't you find out what I'm capable of later? Tian Hui's eyes were filled with filth. His thoughts were absolutely disgusting. Shameless. Jiao Lingyi coldly looked at them and said, "How about this? I'm willing to give up on the blood-drinking grass, so let me go." Yo, you're willing to compromise this time. Before you refused to compromise no matter what, but now you know the power of our 4 locks? They laughed heartily. The 4 chains that they threw out were fixed in 4 places. In fact, they had already locked down all the areas. As long as they shook violently, the chains would quickly bind them. Therefore, with all 4 directions sealed, where else could they escape to? The only way was to force their way through. But could one person break through the lock of 4 people? Not only was her cultivation lower than theirs, but she was also sealed by 4 people. The difficulty was obvious. You're lucky this time. I'm willing to give up on the blood-drinking grass, Jiao Lingyi said coldly. We've already said it. How could we let you go? Have you ever heard of someone surviving after being trapped by us? Tian Sha said coldly. Not only is your life ours, but the blood-drinking grass is also ours. Little beauty, I'm going to eat you up today. How could I let you go? Also, if we let you go and you come back to take revenge on us one day, it will be troublesome. Tian Shui licked her lips and continued. Who doesn't know that you have a nickname, the Vengeful Lady? You'll definitely take revenge. Vengeful Lady was her nickname. It didn't sound very elegant, but that was how she acted. She would definitely take revenge. She would chase them to the ends of the earth and kill them. That's right. Speaking of which, we've all been tricked before and almost lost our lives. Tian Hui's eyes were filled with passion as he said, but only like this will it be more interesting. When the time comes, I'll see you struggle and look at your venomous eyes. That's the best. I like your struggling expression. That's how I want to conquer you. Each one was more perverted than the last. No wonder they were robbers. Other than gangsters, they were perverts. Looks like you guys aren't willing to let me go. Jiao Lingyi took out a short sword and said coldly to the jade box in her hand, "If that's the case, then I'll destroy this blood-drinking grass and then kill myself. Let's see if you guys are faster. Or if I destroy and kill myself." The expressions of the four of them changed. It didn't matter if the person died, but it would be troublesome if the blood-drinking grass was gone. The blood-drinking grass was a 6th-grade spirit herb, and it was a 6th-grade upper-class spirit herb. Its value was obvious. In particular, it could greatly increase one's blood energy. Even if one was about to die, after consuming this blood-drinking grass, his blood energy could immediately extend his life for tens of years, or even hundreds of years. This wasn't just an extremely strong longevity medicine. It was also a very strong blood energy supplement spirit herb. Blood energy was the foundation of a cultivator. As long as there was enough blood energy, cultivation would be even stronger. When burning blood essence, one would be able to last longer. It could be said that the blood-drinking grass was much more precious than Jiao Lingyi's life, but she was using it as a threat. She was really smart. Destroy the blood-drinking grass? Tian Sha said coldly, then destroy it. We can even have the fragments. Although the medicinal effects are greatly reduced, at least we can still absorb it. At this moment, Tian Sha sneered and threw the chain in his hand. He was really not afraid that Jiao Lingyi would destroy the blood-drinking grass. When the other three saw that their boss was attacking, they also attacked at the same time. At the same time, they released their strongest power. The chain released a dazzling light, and turned into a dense spider web that enveloped them. At this moment, Jiao Lingyi quickly threw out the jade box in her hand. It turned into an arrow and flew out. One of them was quick to react and quickly flew over to grab the jade box. Taking advantage of this gap, Jiao Lingyi immediately flew out from the gap. The one who grabbed the jade box was Tian Shui. He quickly opened the jade box and realized that there was no blood-drinking grass inside. It was completely a carrot. She actually changed it. The four of them were furious and immediately surrounded her. They swung the 4 chains in their hands to surround her. Their speed was even faster than Jiao Lingyi's. Jiao Lingyi's eyes turned cold. She quickly crushed a jade talisman, and quickly turned into a stream of light that flew into the sky. However, just as she flew, a ray of light immediately enveloped her and pushed her back. The moment she was pushed back, she was immediately tied up by 4 chains and completely locked down. She couldn't move at all. Ambush. She didn't expect there to be an ambush here. After taking a closer look, she realized that a middle-aged man was blocking her side. He had a mocking smile on his face. "I knew you would cheat. Luckily, I arranged for boss to stay behind to ambush you. Otherwise, you would have really slipped away." Tian Shui laughed loudly. "Boss?" Jiao Lingyi was shocked. "Why did a boss appear? You didn't expect this, right? We aren't 4 bandits, but 5 bandits. He is our boss, Tian Shui." Tian Shui was very satisfied with her expression. After so long, they had finally caught him. How could they not be happy? Even the heavens want to cut off my path. Jiao Lingyi revealed a look of despair. She thought of many things, including that tiny figure, and the sound of crying. It was unforgettable. It was a pity that from today onwards, she was prepared to never see him again. Even if she went, she would never see him again. Goodbye this world. Goodbye Tianyin. Goodbye Xingqian. Tears flowed down her face. She was prepared to choose suicide. She still had a card up her sleeve, and that was self-destruction. It was to perish together with the enemy. If she was alone, it would be very easy for her to be caught. The best way to avoid being caught was to commit suicide. Sister. Chapter 701. The word sister caused Jiao Lingyi's memories to fly back to more than 10 years ago, to the scene in the mortal realm. Only one person called her sister, but the girl was still very young at that time, only in her teens. As time passed, only the voice remained in her mind, and her appearance was also fixed at that time. What entered his eyes was a slightly familiar face, but also a little strange at the same time. She had definitely seen this girl before, but it felt like the first day. Is it Shui Yin? Jiao Lingyi remembered the girl, but she didn't dare to confirm it. Because more than 10 years had passed, And she was still a girl at that time. The changes were very big, so she didn't dare to confirm it. Yes, it's me. Sure, Xueyin was very excited, but when she saw Jiao Lingyi being caught, she became even more nervous. Tianyan, hurry and save sister. The person who flew over while holding her was Tianyan, staring at Jiao Lingyi at the side. She was her mother, the mother that she had never seen before. In terms of appearance, she really did look similar to her, but it seemed that she might look more like Jiao Lingyi. Tianyan, could you be? Jiao Lingyi's heart was pounding. Actually, when she saw Tianyan, she thought of that baby, her own child. Even though she had only seen him a few times, when she felt him up close, she could feel the blood connection. But after a while, she remembered that she was in a dangerous situation, so she hurriedly shouted, "Don't come over, run!" The Heavenly Blood 4 bandits here didn't care whether the other party was related or not. As long as they entered their sight, they would definitely kill them. Especially if they obtained the blood-drinking grass, it would attract the attention of others. But it seemed like it was too late. While they were talking, or rather, when they appeared, the 4 bandits had already surrounded them, sneering at them. "Looks like you are acquaintances. I didn't expect to meet you here. Since we are fated, why don't you stay here?" Tiansha laughed as he sized up the two of them. "I wonder what treasures the two of you have on you. I hope you won't disappoint me." "Hee boss, this chick is even prettier. I can feel that this chick is still a virgin. Haha, this is really too awesome." Tianhui's excitement grew even stronger. His entire being was restless and restless. "Brat, other than these things, can you think of anything else?" Tianyun scolded with a smile, but then he laughed sinisterly. "Even if you want to try, I have to go first." "Hee, boss knew that you would go first. Forget it, let boss go first. Who asked you to be our boss?" Although Tianhui was unwilling, he still gave up his position with a smile on his face. All of them laughed, as if Tianyan and the others were already birds in a cage, waiting to be slaughtered. The eyes of the delicate spirit lotus were filled with sorrow and despair. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing when they finally met. She wanted but she couldn't, and Tianyan could only. Why do the heavens have to treat me like this?" Jiao Lingyi cried. It was so difficult for them to reunite, but they encountered such a sad thing. The 4 heavenly blood bandits were not just 4 bandits, but 5. Everything was beyond her expectations, which led to this ending. This was the true meaning of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. No wonder the heavenly blood 4 bandits were able to roam the world. That was because they hid their boss and hid at the side as the last attack. This way, they could block most of the people. She had been able to escape previously largely because Tian Shui was not here, which was why she had been able to escape so smoothly. Now that Tianyan had come, and she didn't expect this, it led to this ending. "Little beauty, don't be so sad. Let's get along well later. Capture them." Tianyan smiled and signaled his companions to capture Tianyan and the others. By the way, kill the men but keep the women. The men were meaningless to them, so it was more interesting to keep the women alive. Tianyan looked at the 3 Spirit King stage experts coldly, and his eyes were filled with disgust. He hated this kind of people the most. Robbing people was simply disgusting. Even if this kind of people didn't provoke him, he would kill every single one of them. He definitely wouldn't let it go. It was simply too disgusting. "Boy, your eyes are quite fierce. It seems that I have to dig your eyes out first. You can stare at some people, but if you stare at others, you will die." Tianshui licked her lips and said, "Looks like your eyes are quite beautiful. I wonder how they taste?" Without hesitation, Tianshui rushed towards Tianyan with her 5th layer Spirit King stage cultivation. She looked like a piranha that jumped out of the water and rushed towards Tianyan. He had his own way of manipulating water spiritual power. He dodged in the air like a fish in the water, easily dodging most of the attacks. Even if he didn't dodge the attacks, the explosive power of his sprint was quite strong, and he could instantly kill the enemy and give them a fatal blow. "No." Jiao Lingyi shouted from the side, signaling them not to do it, but how could Tianshui care about a person who was trapped? Jiao Lingyi's companions sneered. They loved to see this kind of scene, where the other party struggled, begged, and finally killed to satisfy their perverted desires. Facing Tianshui, not to mention Yi Tianyan, even Shi Shuiyin was not afraid. She knew Yi Tianyun's strength, so she was not worried at all. When Tianshui was about to attack, Yi Tianyan raised his hand in the void, and a giant hand formed out of spiritual power immediately appeared in the void, and grabbed Tianshui with lightning speed. No matter how slippery the fish was, it was still caught by the giant hand. Trash, it's a waste of spiritual power to keep you in this world. As soon as he finished speaking, he squeezed hard and Tianshui exploded into a blood mist, which floated down from the sky, and finally dyed the ground red. Not long after the blood fell to the ground, it was quickly swallowed up by the ground. The originally dark ground was still dark, no longer red like before. The ground here could suck blood, and if you walked barefoot, your blood would be sucked dry. This was the scary thing about the Desolate Bones forest. The sudden change shocked everyone. Although Tianshui was not the strongest, she was still a 5th-layer Spirit King stage cultivator, but she was crushed by Yi Tianyun's move. His strength caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Could it be that they had kicked an iron plate this time? Chapter 702. Third Bro. Tiansha and the rest's eyes turned red. Their brother had accompanied them for so many years, and now he was dead. How could they not be angry? The next moment, they formed a circle, picked up the chains in their hands, and threw them at Yi Tianyun. These chains were not ordinary chains. They were all superior-grade sacred artifacts. It had to be said that they were very powerful. Just now, four chains had caught Jiao Lingyi, and they had caught her very easily. She did not even have the strength to struggle. Now all 4 chains are aimed at Yi Tianyun. Each chain is like a spear thrown out, with enough power to pierce through everything, fiercely piercing forward. At the same time, a dazzling light bloomed, turning into countless light nets that wrapped around him. This was like what happened to Jiao Lingyi previously. Countless light nets wrapped around her. Once she was wrapped, she would be unable to move. These light nets were made of spiritual energy, and the power gathered was very strong. Even if one could break free, it would take a long time. Dodge, that light net is very strong. It's very hard to break free. Jiao Lingyi shouted, reminding Yi Tianyun. However, she did not need to remind him. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand, and the Nether Heaven Divine Sword landed in his hand. He waved it in the air, and a yellow light pierced through the surroundings. The arc-shaped sword light was released in all directions, completely cutting the light net. Even 2 people were easily cut in half. The ones who were cut in half were Tianhui and Tianyu. They had no way to block this terrifying sword light. Even the chains in their hands were useless. It easily pierced through their bodies. Even if they had amazing superior-grade sacred artifact armor, they were still cut in half. With the Nether Heaven Divine Sword and the Ancient Set, unless one was wearing a divine set, they would be cut in half by this sword. However, even if they were cut in half, they still had a chance to survive. With a strong cultivation, as long as their souls were not damaged, they could live for a long time. They could even fly and escape. However, just as they were about to escape, a terrifying primordial energy invaded them, rapidly corroding their bodies and turning them into a petrified state. Just as it was petrified, it quickly turned into sand and fell from the sky, especially the lower half of the body that fell first. Because there was no spiritual power to suppress it, it directly turned into a pile of sand in just a few breaths. Boss, save us. Tianhui and the rest screamed as half of their bodies flew to the side, but their bodies were quickly turned into sand. Before they could save them, they were already dead, turning into a pile of sand on the ground. Now, even the ground was too lazy to absorb them. They had already turned into sand, so how could it absorb them? Of course, the 2 of them wanted to save him, but they couldn't even protect themselves now, so what was there to save? Under Yi Tianyun's ferocious sword strike, they were all sent flying. Although they were not cut in half, the place where they were attacked was quickly turned into a desert, and the sand was continuously eroding in. They frantically used their strength to resist, but it was still meaningless. They continued to crazily corrode their bodies, and their hands were already mostly petrified. A faint yellow line also appeared on the body that blocked the attack, and it quickly spread outwards. This was the terrifying part of the ancient desolate equipment set. It could turn everything into sand. Looks like you guys are quite capable. Tianyan smiled indifferently. If he said that he had casually waved his sword, who knew what their expressions would be like? He basically did not use much strength, not even 30% of his strength. He only used a little strength. Although he used very little strength, under the crazy stacking of the ancient desolate equipment set, it immediately became a terrifying move. Basically, a casual wave of his sword had a combat power of 10 billion, and they couldn't even block it. Even if they blocked it, they wouldn't be able to withstand the terrifying erosion of this power. This power is too terrifying. Tian Shui's heart trembled. He originally thought that the four of them could suppress Tianyan together for revenge, but now it seemed that they were naive, and extremely naive. Not only did the other party have a divine weapon, but he also had terrifying power that far exceeded their imagination. Boss run. They quickly took out jade talismans, but they didn't use their hands to hold them. Their hands were already crippled, and they couldn't move at all, so they could only use their spiritual power to move the talismans. As soon as they took out the jade talismans, they quickly crushed them, turning them into a ray of light that carried them rapidly into the sky. Their speed suddenly increased by a few times. This was the Heaven Evasion Talisman. They were often bandits, so they definitely had to leave a way out for themselves. However, just as they transformed into a sharp sword and fled, a figure flashed in front of them even faster than them, and suddenly kicked them with a backhand kick. Bang! The two of them were directly kicked down and heavily smashed into the ground, creating a large pit. Crack! Under this heavy blow, their desertification bodies directly collapsed, and their bodies were split into two. Large amounts of blood spurted out, but they quickly stopped bleeding, and their faces were pale. What kind of power is this? Who are you? Their eyes were filled with fear. They never thought that they would fall in the hands of a young man, and an absolutely terrifying young man at that. Is my identity that important to people who are about to die? Tianyan gently waved his hand, and Jiao Lingyi, who was tied up at the side, was easily untied, and she regained her freedom of movement. Sister, are you okay? Sure, Shuiyin had already arrived at her side at this time, and hurriedly supported her. I'm fine, are you really, Shuiyin? Jiao Lingyi looked at her in surprise. She really didn't expect that the sister she had acknowledged back then would appear in the heaven realm. At that time, she was still a little brat by her side, and she just took good care of her. She didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, she had grown so big, and her cultivation was also a lot stronger. That's right, I am Shuiyin. Sure, Shuiyin was very excited. She was very happy to be able to meet Jiao Lingyi again. She had always wanted to repay her kindness, but Jiao Lingyi had already left, leaving only Tianyan by her side. Therefore, she placed her gratitude on Tianyan. But now, it couldn't be said that she was repaying her kindness, but it could be said that she had found her Mr. Right. Then Although Jiao Lingyi had a strong feeling, she still didn't believe it in her heart. Yes, he is your son, Tianyan. Sure, Shuiyin said. Is he really Tianyan? Jiao Lingyi was startled. She slowly walked towards Tianyan, and looked him up and down with her beautiful eyes. Looking at Jiao Lingyi who was walking over, Tianyan sighed in his heart. He didn't have any feelings for Jiao Lingyi, and it was meaningless for her to be his mother. It was impossible for him to hug her and cry in pain when she suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Chapter 703. Tianyan. When Jiao Lingyi walked towards Tianyan, she hugged him without hesitation and hugged him firmly in her arms. Tears blurred her vision. She didn't expect that she would be able to see her child again in her lifetime. Tianyan felt a little awkward being hugged in her arms. However, after being hugged for a while, he felt a little touched. Overall, it wasn't strong. After all, he didn't have any impression of her. It was hard to have any special mother-son bond. After a while, Tianyan came out from her arms. His expression wasn't as stiff as before, but it still wasn't natural. He had a feeling that he couldn't call her out. He hadn't seen her since he was young. Suddenly, he had to call her mother. It was a little weird. Tianyan, she's your mother. Shi Shuiyin was anxious at the side. When she saw Yi Tianyan standing still, he looked like a block of wood. He didn't have the boldness he had before. His boldness to kill his enemies was shocking. But now he was like a block of wood. He couldn't even call out to her. It was really worrying. I understand. We haven't seen each other for so many years. It's still a little awkward for her to suddenly call out to me. Jiao Lingyi sighed deeply. She couldn't hide the disappointment in her eyes. However, thinking about it carefully, wasn't this to be expected? It had been so many years. She might be deeply touched, but Yi Tianyan hadn't even seen her before. It would be strange if he could still be touched. Only by slowly getting used to each other would they be able to deepen their feelings for each other. If he suddenly called her mother, it would be a random call and not a sincere one. Immediately, Jiao Lingyi turned to look at Tian Sha and the others. Now that they were lying on the ground, their bodies were slowly being eroded into a desert. Other than struggling helplessly, they had no other way. They couldn't suppress the erosion, and could only watch helplessly as the desert turned. This time, it's your turn to die. You still want to snatch the blood-drinking grass that I worked so hard to obtain? Jiao Lingyi coldly looked at them, and a long sword immediately appeared in her hand. Both of them stared at Jiao Lingyi, their eyes filled with sorrow and despair. They didn't expect the tables to turn in the blink of an eye, and it was their turn to die. If you want to kill us, then kill us. We won't even frown. The two of them didn't beg for mercy. Ever since they started this line of work, they knew that this kind of thing might happen, so they were already prepared. Even if they begged for mercy, they knew that the other party wouldn't let them go, so they might as well be ruthless for one last time. Don't worry, I won't let you die so quickly. Jiao Lingyi took out the blood-drinking grass, which emitted a dense bloody light in her hands, causing their hearts to tremble. What do you think you're doing? When the two of them saw the blood-drinking grass, their eyes were filled with terror. What do you guys think? Jiao Lingyi grabbed the blood-drinking grass and placed it on their chests. Immediately after, the roots of the blood-drinking grass immediately penetrated into their bodies and began to crazily devour their blood. No. They cried out in pain, but it was useless. The blood-drinking grass continuously absorbed their blood, and the blood in their bodies was quickly sucked dry, gradually drying up. Yi Tianyan didn't say anything at the side. The blood-drinking grass, as its name implied, mainly absorbed blood to grow. No matter whose blood it was, as long as it was blood, it would immediately absorb it. If it was close to a person, then it would immediately penetrate through the body and reach in to absorb the blood. If it wasn't able to absorb blood like this, the blood-drinking grass's blood chi wouldn't be so strong. After a while, the blood in their bodies was completely sucked dry, and they looked like dried corpses. However, they didn't die, and were still lingering on the edge of death. It wouldn't be long before they were completely dead. After sucking them dry, Jiao Lingyi sealed the blood-drinking grass again, otherwise, even she would be sucked dry. Okay, let's hurry out. This place isn't suitable for us to stay for long. Jiao Lingyi indicated for them to quickly leave. They nodded and quickly flew out. This place was indeed dangerous, and who knew what enemies would surround them next? Sister, why did you come to the desolate bone forest? Could it be for the blood-drinking grass? Shi Shuiyin asked, speaking of which, where's Yi Xingqian? She didn't call him brother-in-law. If it wasn't for Yi Xingqian, how could Jiao Lingyi have fallen to such a state? Jiao Lingyi glanced at Yi Tianyan beside her, then sighed and said, Follow me, you'll know in a while. Shi Shuiyin nodded and didn't continue asking. Yi Tianyan didn't say anything, and he kept thinking about something. Very soon, they safely went out of the forest. Under Yi Tianyan's protection, unless a peak saint king or a divine king rushed out, they would be easily suppressed by him. After exiting the forest, they quickly found a place to settle down, and it just so happened that it was a cave at the side. This cave was obviously opened up by someone, and the person who opened it was Jiao Lingyi. After dispersing the concealment formation, they all walked in. After entering, the first thing that came into view was a crystal coffin. A handsome man was lying inside. When Shi Shuiyin saw him, she exclaimed, Yi Xingqian. The man lying in the crystal coffin was Yi Xingqian, Yi Tianyan's father. Who would have thought that the #1 prodigy of the Fengtian divine kingdom was now lying in a crystal coffin? From the aura, it was obvious that he was not dead, but in a deep sleep. His face was terrifyingly pale, without a trace of blood, as if his blood had been sucked dry. Why does this feel so familiar? Yi Tianyan looked at Yi Xingqian's condition and said in a low voice, "There's no blood, and it's very thin. How did this happen?" Jiao Lingyi sighed, and there was anger in her eyes. "I don't know who sent people to surround us. And then your father was ambushed. After we escaped, we discovered that he had been poisoned. It seemed to be a bloodthirsty poison, and it would suck all the blood in one's body, causing one's blood to be severely weakened. I had no choice but to let your father fall into a deep sleep, and I supplemented him with blood-replenishing elixirs to prolong his life. He stayed like this for more than 10 years. Coincidentally, we were about to return to the mortal realm to find you, but we didn't expect to be surrounded by a group of people." Jiao Lingyi cried and said, "It's not that we didn't want to go back to find you, but the situation was critical, and we couldn't go back at all. The heavenly realm was the place with the most spiritual herbs. There were too few spiritual herbs in the mortal realm, and their quality was also inferior to the heavenly realm. That was why they did not descend to the mortal realm to bring Yi Tianyan back." "I see." Yi Tianyan's eyes turned cold. No wonder Jiao Lingyi and the others did not come back to find him. It was because of this. Did I offend someone? Even I am in trouble. Chapter 704. Yi Xingqian was in a coma, and it seemed very strange, especially when he was surrounded as soon as he left. I also had a blood qi deficit in the past, and it was quite serious. As I grew older, my blood qi became less and less. Yi Tianyan frowned. "You had a blood qi deficit at that time?" Jiao Lingyi looked at him in surprise, and even looked at Shi Shuiyun, asking for confirmation. "Yes, Tianyan had a blood qi deficit at that time, and it was very serious. I used blood qi pills to help him recover bit by bit. It was only when a powerhouse helped Tianyan that this situation was avoided. Otherwise, if it continued, I'm afraid." Shi Shuiyun's heart palpitated when she thought of what happened before. If it wasn't for someone helping him, Yi Tianyan would definitely be dead. "A powerhouse helping you?" Jiao Lingyi asked doubtfully. "Yes, didn't Big Sister send someone down to help?" Shi Shuiyun asked. "How could it be me? After handing Tianyan over to you that day, I immediately killed my way back to the heaven realm. Xingqian immediately said that he wanted to elope with me, and didn't want to stay in the Fengtian divine kingdom anymore. Who knew that we would be surrounded when we were about to return to the mortal realm? At that time, Xingqian broke through the encirclement with me and hid with me. Who knew that he would be poisoned, and we couldn't find the antidote no matter how hard we tried. Later on, we could only let him sleep until we found a way to cure him, and then go down to the mortal realm to find you. We didn't have any extra time, and we didn't have any help at all." She frowned and guessed. It should be a powerhouse helping him? Or the Fengtian divine kingdom? Yi Tianyan was a little embarrassed. He had lied to Shi Shuiyun, saying that there was a powerhouse helping him. It was a terrible excuse, but Shi Shuiyun believed it immediately. After all, she couldn't think of any other way. Who would have thought of something like the system? However, according to the situation at that time, the real Yi Tianyan was already dead. He died not long after he was born, and he was immediately reborn into this body. At that time, he was very depressed. He was constantly being fed milk, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't even speak. Shi Shuiyun was even more petite. She was both a father and a mother. She had helped him take care of him before she was even 10, as if she was taking care of a younger brother. Therefore, although he was reborn, he had been with Shi Shuiyun since he was a baby. After his rebirth, his soul was very tenacious, which was why he was able to persevere to the end. I'm not sure about that. In short, an expert helped to solve it. Yi Tianyan said in a low voice. It looks like I've been poisoned as well. If they want to kill me without me knowing, they can still deceive everyone. I brought you back from the heaven-sealing divine kingdom. When I gave birth to you, I happened to be resting and was taken away by the maidservants. However, I was outside, not inside the heaven-sealing divine kingdom. Could it be that someone poisoned me at that time? Jiao Lingyi's expression changed. Other than that, it was most likely that time. Then who would plot against us? Someone from the heaven-sealing divine kingdom? Yi Tianyan's eyes turned cold. That's possible. Back then, the elders of the heaven-sealing divine kingdom were very against me. They didn't want me to marry into the family, saying that it would dilute my bloodline. However, if I really gave birth to you, how could your grandfather have a heart of stone? However, your father didn't want to stay there, so he asked me to bring you back to the mortal world. He had some matters to deal with, and then this happened. All these years, I've been looking for all kinds of spiritual medicine to replenish his blood qi, but it's still too far away. A few days ago, I found a solution, but because of the severe blood qi deficit in recent years, even after treatment, his body still isn't very good. Jiao Lingyi looked at Yi Xingchen, who was sleeping in the crystal coffin. Her eyes were blurred, but more than that, they were filled with sorrow. However, when she looked at Yi Tianyan, her eyes were filled with joy and gratification. Yi Tianyan walked over and looked at Yi Xingchen. This was his father. He was indeed extraordinarily handsome, but now his hair was completely white, and his face was frighteningly pale. There was almost no blood qi left in him. Using the appraisal eye, he immediately understood the general situation. Sister, have you never thought of asking the heaven-sealing divine kingdom for help? Shi Xueyan said doubtfully. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. No matter what, Tianyun's grandfather wouldn't be so cruel. Xingchen said that he wouldn't go back no matter what. He would rather die outside than go back and ask his father for help. If his father wasn't so cruel, how could we be in such a situation? It's all because of the bloodline. That's why I'm not willing to do this. Jiao Lingyi sighed deeply. Bloodline was extremely important. Some bloodlines could only give birth to one pure bloodline, and the second birth would be extremely weak. The heaven-sealing divine kingdom definitely didn't want their bloodline to leak out. They needed a union with a good bloodline to be stronger. This wasn't a union that could be casually done. If anyone could give birth to such a pure bloodline, Yi Xingchen would have already taken a few concubines, or even dozens of them. Some bloodlines were like this. The first one was very strong, but the later it was, the weaker it would be. Therefore, it needed a strong union to be perfect. They didn't want to waste it on Jiao Lingyi, which was why they made such a cruel decision. For the sake of the family's prosperity, they could only deprive their son of his feelings. Who knew that they would encounter such a strong backlash? And now both sides were struggling. Blood qi deficiency. Is the blood-drinking grass one of the medicinal herbs used to treat it? Yi Tianyan asked. Yes, the blood-drinking grass is one of the medicinal herbs used to treat it. We still lack 2 more, but they are extremely difficult to find. Jiao Lingyi shook her head and said. However, we have some clues, and we can slowly look for them. Xingchen can still persevere. There definitely won't be any problems. She was full of hope, mainly because her son was by her side. There was definitely some hope. There's no need to look for it. Let's go to the Fengtian Divine Kingdom to get the medicine. Yi Tianyan said. That won't do. Your father said that he would never step into the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. That was the situation before. I suspect that it was done by the people of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Not only for my father, but also for myself. Yi Tianyan said coldly. I don't know who did it, but if I knew that it was done by the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, I would drag him down and let him experience the feeling of blood qi deficiency. His eyes were extremely cold, terrifyingly cold. After knowing that it might be done by the people of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, he would have to investigate it carefully. But that's the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Jiao Lingyi pulled him back and said, They are too strong. If you go, you might be killed. Don't worry, they don't have the ability to do so. If I find out that it was done by the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, or a group of people, no matter who it is, I will eliminate them all. I have always taken revenge, no matter who it is. Chapter 705. Jiaoling, she didn't know what to say since Yi Tianyan was so determined. Jiaoling, she didn't know what to say. Although Yi Tianyan is very strong, Fengtian Divine Kingdom is a divine kingdom with many holy kings. It's not something the heavenly blood 4 bandits can compare with. Since you want to go, then I also want to go. Jiao Lingyi wouldn't just stay here and wait for news. She still couldn't do that. Okay, come with me. Yi Tianyan nodded and didn't let Jiao Lingyi stay here. It's safer to stay with him. He has many ways to escape or fight the enemy. It's definitely safer than staying here. It's not like staying in a place that looks safe. For him, as long as it's not in his sight, it's not the safest place. Unless the enemy is really strong, he won't arrange for people to stay in a remote area. Then, Jiao Lingyi used the living ring to store the sleeping Yi Xingqian. She could always carry it with her. But because he is going to the dangerous place alone, he didn't bring it with him. If there is any danger, at least Yi Xingqian can stay here. Yi Xingqian is not dead. He is just sleeping. He can still wake up. After preparing, Yi Tianyan summoned the Indigo Phoenix and flew to Fengtian Divine Kingdom with the 3 of them. But at this time, the system's voice sounded in his ears. Successfully completed main quest, find parents. Reward, 500 million EXP 100. 000 crazy points, 2 super lottery roulette tickets. Successfully completed main quest, save father. Reward, 500 million EXP, 100. 000 crazy points, 2 super lottery roulette tickets. After completing the mission, the soul guidance disappeared. 3 million was gone just like that. But he thinks it's worth it. If they didn't come in time, Jiao Lingyi would really be in danger. Now that there was a main quest, everything was arranged in order, and it just happened to meet his current schedule, which was equivalent to a side quest. When Jiao Lingyi saw Yi Tianyan summon the phoenix, she didn't know what to say. Or rather, she didn't know where to start asking. Everything was too miraculous. Their son's achievements seemed to have surpassed them, his parents. According to his age, his son was not even 20 years old, and he had already reached this level. She wanted to ask, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. She owed Yi Tianyan so much that she didn't know where to start. Sure, Shuoyin could tell what she was thinking. She held Jiao Lingyi's hand and said with a smile, "Sister, what are you thinking? Do you want to know what happened to Tianyan all these years?" She even poked Yi Tianyan. Jiao Lingyi didn't know what to say, but Sure Shuoyin knew what to say. Yi Tianyan felt a little helpless. What could he say? But he saw Jiao Lingyi's caring eyes. After all, she is his mother now. But he still didn't say anything. Sure Shuoyin knew that they were embarrassed, so she began to talk. She roughly said what Yi Tianyan did in the mortal world, and Jiao Lingyi was stunned. Jade Palace has changed so much before. It has become an empire, which is really shocking. My son built an empire? Jiao Lingyi was shocked, but also excited. Tears of relief flowed from her eyes. It seems that without her help, Tianyan can still make a name for himself. Yes, Tianyan is very powerful, and his talent is quite amazing, just like you. Sure Shuoyin praised. Jiao Lingyi wiped her tears and looked at Yi Tianyan and said, "Child, you have worked hard all these years." She doesn't care about what kind of empire Yi Tianyan built, but she can feel that it is not easy to build everything, and the road must be full of hardships. It seems that Sure Shuoyin understated, but she knows how much power is needed to create a force, and what kind of pressure is needed to bear. It's okay, because I have Aunt to accompany me. Yi Tianyan reached out and held her little hand, in front of his mother. Sure Shuoyin struggled slightly, but still can't break free, and her face is red. This means that they are officially together. She used to be his sister, but now she has become his in-laws. This is really a big leap. He asked her to help take care of him, but in the end, they are together. It's a bit embarrassing to think about it. You two. When Jiao Lingyi saw the two of them holding hands, she was stunned at first, but then she smiled and reached out to touch Tianyan's little face. At that time, I was sure that if I give birth to a son, I will definitely marry a girl like you. I didn't expect that we are right. Ah. Sister, is that what you thought at that time? Sure Shuoyin said in shock. Yi Tianyan was also stunned at the side. Isn't it a bit too exaggerated to find a wife for me when I was just born? Yes, you're talented, kind, and responsible. Otherwise, why would I entrust Tianyan to you? It is because I think you can take good care of Tianyan and become his right-hand man, so I let you take care of him. Jiao Lingyi said with a smile. At that time, I thought there are a few people I can entrust him to, but after thinking about it, I think you are the most suitable. If the two of you end up together, it will be very in line with my wishes. Shi Shuoyun was stunned. She was originally prepared to be scolded, but who knew that from the very beginning? She wanted her to be Yi Tianyun's wife. This is a bit too much. However, the age of a cultivator is not a problem at all. As long as the cultivation is high, a few hundred years old looks like a 20-year-old. Therefore, age has never been a problem. The biggest problem is the problem of cultivation and talent. Since the two of you are together, then one of my worries has been resolved. Jiao Lingyi took out a necklace from her storage ring and put it on Shi Shuoyun's neck. She said with a faint smile, I don't have any gifts for you, but this is a pretty good necklace. Take it as a gift for you. This necklace is certainly not ordinary. It is at least a medium-grade sacred artifact. Jiao Lingyi is not as overbearing as Yi Tianyun, who can even give people divine artifacts casually. She can only give out sacred artifacts. Child, from now on, I will entrust Shuoyun to you to take care of him. I hope you can protect him well. Don't let him get hurt. Jiao Lingyi held their hands tightly. Her originally haggard expression now has a bit more red. Thank you, mother. Yi Tianyun smiled. It is rare for him to show a smile, feeling that the two of them are much closer. Child, we owe you a lot, and now your ability is not small, but I hope that we can be together in the future, and make it up to you. Jiao Lingyi said with a smile. Chapter 706. With Shi Shuoyun's help, the atmosphere finally eased a lot, and the awkward atmosphere of the conversation was not so serious. This was the most normal situation. It would be impossible for someone to immediately pounce on her and call her mother without even seeing her once. Feelings were nurtured over many years. Perhaps Jiao Lingyi would be like this. After all, she was the one who had watched her child being born. She was very close to him. Yi Tianyun didn't have such a feeling. Ever since he came over, he hadn't seen her or felt the warmth of her embrace. Therefore, it was impossible for him to call her mother. We are almost at the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. They were about to reach the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Tianyun, don't be so impulsive when you return. We will first talk to your grandfather about this matter. After all, no matter what, your grandfather is an elder in there. Don't make it too difficult for him. Jiao Lingyi was afraid that Yi Tianyun would go crazy if he went in there. Then it would be out of control. That depends on their sincerity. Otherwise, don't blame me for turning the world upside down. Yi Tianyun said calmly, I have my own principles. If anyone crosses my bottom line, don't blame me for being impolite. Jiao Lingyi nodded her head. She was also extremely annoyed. If it was really as they had guessed, that it was done by the people of the Fengtian Divine Empire, they would definitely be extremely furious. Don't worry. If we find out that it was done by someone from the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, even if you don't do anything, I will. Jiao Lingyi smiled. People call me the vengeful lady. Your mother will do anything to take revenge. They smiled knowingly. However, they were more cautious. After all, they were facing the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, not an ordinary force. They had to be cautious because they had the backing of a god king. Yi Tianyun didn't have any feelings for his ancestor. He wasn't afraid that he would offend this so-called ancestor. They were in the wrong. Even if they were blood brothers, they had to settle the scores. Mother, do you have any guesses in this regard? Yi Tianyun asked. Yes. Jiao Lingyi replied in a deep voice. I've thought about it before, but I wasn't too sure. But when I thought about you, I immediately thought of a few people. Who? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes, revealing a terrifying light. It's the third elder. I feel that even the great elder has something to do with it. From the very beginning, they were extremely opposed to us, and very strongly. Even though your grandfather was against it, he was much milder than the others, and he treated me well. At least he wasn't as rude as the third elder and the first elder. Jiao Lingyi continued. When Xingqian went back and told your grandfather that she was pregnant, there was a riot inside. In a fit of rage, your father was locked up. After all, I've already broken my vows. I definitely won't let your father come out and meet me. At that time, I was about to give birth, but I didn't see your father return. At that time, I thought that he must have been locked up and wouldn't be able to get out. Later on, your father was able to escape largely because your grandfather released him. These are all my guesses. I don't think your father will be able to escape from that cage. Someone must have done something to him. Yi Tianyan was stunned. He didn't expect his grandfather to be released in the end. It seemed that even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. Since the matter was settled, it was normal for him to be released. However, Xingqian still didn't want to go back. After all, it's too chaotic there. Apart from bloodlines, there's still bloodlines. He's like a puppet there. Everyone in the Fengtian divine nation has gone crazy. They just want to restore their former glory, so they're willing to do anything. So, it's very likely that they plotted against me because they didn't want me to live? Yi Tianyan said in a deep voice. If I live, I'm afraid it will affect them, right? Yes, it's very likely. At that time, your bloodline was tested. In the end, you didn't inherit much of the King of the Heavens' bloodline. It's quite thin. Even so, there's still a chance that it'll be awakened. Jiao Lingyi said. Even if the Grand Elder and the Third Elder's grandsons find someone from the same clan, their bloodline will still be thin. Therefore, your starting line is about the same. In the future, if one of you has a chance to turn things around, he might become the next clan leader. As expected, I've been dragged into this power struggle again. Yi Tianyan smiled bitterly and shook his head. He had thought of this before. What other way was there other than a power struggle? He didn't expect that even Yi Xingqian would be surrounded and killed in the power struggle. Sai, that's right. We had guessed it before, but we didn't expect you to be secretly poisoned. Jiao Lingyi's eyes were cold. It must have been that maidservant who secretly poisoned you when she was bathing you. I didn't expect to miss something even though I've been watching you. Thank goodness you're fine. If it weren't for that powerful cultivator, I'm afraid. Her eyes reddened, and she felt a little afraid. Yi Tianyan fell silent. She was already dead. The poison was not weak, and the maidservant could not be killed in front of her. Even if Jiao Lingyi was weak, she could still fight back. I'm sure they're behind this, but there's no evidence. It's hard to say, Jiao Lingyi said. If they did it, they'll definitely find evidence, Yi Tianyan said calmly. He had many ways to get information out of them. For example, if they did not have a high cultivation level, the Eye of Enchantment would be enough to make them spill the beans. We're here. They arrived outside the Apotheosis Kingdom by the time they finished their conversation. They dismounted from the Indigo Phoenix and followed them inside. Soon, they arrived at the inner city wall. The guards immediately stopped them when they saw them. It's you two again. What do you want this time? The guards were still the same. They immediately became alert when they saw Yi Tianyan and Shi Shuiyun. We're from the Yi clan. Jiao Lingyi took out her token. The word Yi was engraved on it, and it released a special energy. It was definitely not a fake token. Second Elder's token. The guard immediately said respectfully. Please come in. Jiao Lingyi nodded and walked in with her people. Just as she walked in, a surprised voice came from the side. Jiao Lingyi. An old man recognized her immediately and sneered. I didn't expect you to come back. Where's Xingqian? Didn't he come back with you? Deacon Xiao, I have something to report to Second Elder this time, and it is a very important matter. Jiao Lingyi said in a low voice. Very important? Deacon Xiao said disdainfully. Our Apotheosis Kingdom's #1 prodigy eloped with you, causing us to lose a prodigy. How dare you come back? Why would you come back? Don't tell me you ran out of elixirs and came back to ask for 2? You left so arrogantly, and now you're back like a beggar. How embarrassing. Slap yourself. Yi Tianyan reached out and slapped Deacon Zhao's face. Deacon Zhao's mouth is swollen, and he rolled a few times on the ground. Deacon Xiao is stunned. Jiao Lingyi, who was at the side, could not help but smile bitterly. Her son was really domineering. He had just said that he would calm down, but who knew that he would immediately beat him up? Please watch your words. If we're beggars, you're worse than trash, Yi Tianyan said coldly. Chapter 707. Good. Jiao Lingyi, I didn't expect you to bring back a helper. This is a rebellion. Deacon Xiao stood up angrily, covering his swollen face. His mouth was full of blood. Yi Tianyun is merciful. If he was really angry, his head would have been smashed by the slap. Just a dog slave. You dare to be arrogant in front of me. Yi Tianyun said coldly. Now I will give you two choices. Either take us to the second elder, or continue to be slapped by me. Choose. Deacon Xiao was furious. He was definitely not willing. No matter which option he chose, he was not willing. After being slapped hard, how could he be willing to take Yi Tianyun away? You want me to take you to see the second elder? This is impossible, unless you apologize. Pa! Another slap came. This Deacon Xiao didn't even have time to react. He was slapped away. A few of his teeth were broken. Blood flowed out from his mouth, staining the ground red. His face was slapped high. It made the originally tall and thin Deacon Xiao look a bit fatter. It really felt like he was trying to look fat at his own cost. Try and say it again? Yi Tianyun waved his hand, causing Deacon Xiao's heart to tremble. This time he was especially vigilant, but he found that he couldn't block this slap. The speed was too fast, and he didn't know where the slap came from. He was inexplicably slapped. I won't take you to, Pa. Yi Tianyun slapped again. Again, Deacon Xiao was slapped away again, vomiting blood. If this continued, his teeth would be slapped away, but before his teeth were gone he would be disfigured. Will you take me or not? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Jiao Lingyi and the others at the side were silent. Yi Tianyun was really not a human when he was ruthless, but it was quite fun to slap him. Some people are so cheap, if you don't slap them a few times, you won't know what you did. I'll take. Deacon Xiao wanted to cry but no tears came out. If he continued to be slapped again, he felt like he was going to die, so he could only get up and lead the others. Yi Tianyun stopped, and let Deacon Xiao lead them to the second elder. When Deacon Xiao got up and led them, his eyes were filled with resentment. It seemed like he wanted to take revenge. Immediately, Deacon Xiao led them to the second elder's residence. Along the way, many disciples saw Deacon Xiao's swollen face and felt it was very strange, but they didn't ask about it. Most people didn't know Jiao Lingyi. Unless they were older like Deacon Xiao, they didn't know her. Under Deacon Xiao's lead, they walked to the side of the mountain. This mountain was called the Heaven-Sealing Divine Mountain. It was the main peak of the 5 heavenly mountains. At the foot of the main peak, there were 2 Spirit King stage experts guarding it. Since this was the most important divine mountain, they were very strict. If they wanted to go up, they would need a secret order, or they would need to inform the elders, and they would be allowed to go up. When Deacon Xiao got close to the divine mountain, he immediately ran inside and shouted, "Not good, someone broke into the divine mountain, and they injured me." Deacon Xiao desperately ran towards the guards, but before he could take 2 steps, he was slapped to the other side by a wave of energy. Deacon Xiao couldn't get up. He wasn't dead, but he was knocked out by Yi Tianyun. The 2 Spirit King stage experts' face changed, and they quickly flew over. When they saw who it was, they were surprised. Isn't this the woman young master is willing to betray the whole family to choose? They were all experienced powerhouses. When they saw the delicate spirit lotus, they immediately recognized it. Yi Xingqian had brought her back before, so most of them knew that she was Yi Xingqian. At that time, many of them criticized Yi Xingqian for not bringing her back. "I want to see the second elder," Jiao Lingyi said solemnly. The 2 guards looked at Deacon Xiao, who was slapped to the side. Although they didn't know what happened, they didn't have the right to decide this matter. "Okay, I'll go and inform the second elder now. You 2 stay here." The guard thought for a moment, but he didn't want to make things difficult for them. All the important matters were handled by the elder. And this was a very important matter. The first divine genius ran away for a woman, but now the woman came back, and Yi Xingqian didn't come back, which was very strange. Therefore, they temporarily went to inform the second elder, and let him decide. Soon, one of the guards went to inform the second elder, and the other guard went to treat Deacon Xiao. Deacon Xiao's face was swollen, and it was just a skin wound. "It's you." At this time, an old man with a few young cultivators walked past them, and they were about to go to the divine mountain. "So it's the third elder." When Jiao Lingyi looked at the old man in front of her, her eyes were cold. because she thought that it was likely the third elder and the first elder who did this. Her expression became even colder. The third elder looked at her in shock, but he quickly came to his senses. He glanced at them, and finally fixed his eyes on Yi Tianyan. This is Xingqian's child? The third elder's face darkened, and a vicious look flashed in his eyes. Yes, I brought my child back to see the second elder. I wonder if the third elder has any problems? Jiao Lingyi said calmly. Arrest them. The third elder waved his hand, signaling the others to arrest Yi Tianyan and the others. The guards immediately surrounded them. The third elder would definitely obey his orders, and they prepared to arrest Yi Tianyan and Jiao Lingyi. Third elder, what do you mean by this? We just met, and you want to arrest us? Are you trying to silence us? Jiao Lingyi said coldly. Jiao Lingyi's words were very straightforward. The third elder's expression did not change. He said calmly, Why would I do that? I'm just capturing you and locking you up. Back then, Yi Xingqian betrayed the family and eloped with you. This is a disgrace to the divine kingdom. I want to keep you here and interrogate you, or lock you up and never let you leave. Is that so? I suspect that you were the one who hunted us before. Jiao Lingyi said directly. The third elder's expression changed, but he did not show it. He said calmly, I don't know what you're talking about. There has been no news of you all this time. What do you mean by hunting you down? I didn't even have time to catch you, so why would I hunt you down? Chapter 708. The delicate spirit lotus was so straightforward and crude, completely unafraid of exposing something, and unafraid of arousing any suspicions. She didn't believe that these people didn't investigate their whereabouts. If they didn't solve their problem, they wouldn't be at ease. She didn't have any evidence, so she wanted to see what was going on with them first. If there was something wrong with them, she would continue to investigate them, so that she could find more evidence. But to her disappointment, the third elder didn't show any expression at all. The third elder was an experienced man, so he wouldn't reveal anything. Mother, there's no need to be so long-winded with them. Later on, I will naturally have some methods to make them speak. Yi Tianyan's expression is indifferent. He doesn't even bother to listen to them. He doesn't care about their expression or their mentality. He didn't need to do that because it would be a waste of time. The best way was to use the Eye of Charm, which was simple and effective. You have a way? Jiao Lingyi was surprised, but she couldn't think of a way. Shi Shuiyan didn't say anything. She just followed him and listened to him. Yes, I have a way. Yi Tianyan smiled indifferently, but he didn't say anything. However, the third elder didn't care about what they could do. He and the rest of the Spirit King stage cultivators were ready to capture them. The third elder directly aimed at Yi Tianyan with cold eyes. It seemed like he had a different idea. I advise you to be obedient. If you resist, don't blame us for being rude. The third elder smiled evilly and rushed towards Yi Tianyan like a hungry wolf. The rest of the guards also rushed towards Jiao Lingyi and Shi Shuiyun. With so many Spirit King stage experts, they wouldn't be able to subdue the three of them. Yi Tianyan's eyes flashed, and an evil smile appeared on his face. But just when he was about to slap them, a loud shout came from the side. All of you stop! A deafening sound rang out from behind, immediately causing the people who were pouncing over to stop in their tracks, not daring to take another step forward. Of course, that was only limited to the guards. The third elder pounced forward and grabbed Yi Tianyan. He had wanted to crush him, but he was stuck in place, not daring to do so. Why don't you try? Yi Tianyan said calmly. I don't mind crippling your hands. He didn't sense any danger at all. His hand was about to grab his neck, but his expression didn't change, as if he wasn't grabbing his own neck. You're quite arrogant. As expected of your father. The third elder snorted coldly and turned his head to look behind him. He saw an old man flying down from the sky. When the old man saw Jiao Lingyi and the others, his expression changed. Jiao Lingyi, you're back. The old man was none other than the second elder, Yi Yuanlong, Yi Tianyan's grandfather. As soon as he landed, he scanned his surroundings and finally fixed his gaze on Yi Tianyan, causing his body to tremble. His face was quite similar to Yi Xingqian's, but he also had the advantages of Jiao Lingyi, so he looked very handsome. Second elder, you're here. I was just about to control them, but I didn't expect you to come. The third elder smiled calmly and withdrew his hand. He glared fiercely at Yi Tianyan for one last time before turning to look at Yi Yuanlong. Leave this to me, Yi Yuanlong said in a deep voice. Second elder, this isn't just about you, right? This is a scandal of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, and a disgrace. This isn't just about you but all of us. I believe that the first elder and the others will be more than happy to help us deal with this matter. The third elder did not hand Jiao Lingyi over. Nothing would happen if he handed Jiao Lingyi over. One was his grandson, and the other was his daughter-in-law. What problem could there be? Then let's deal with this matter together. Yi Yuanlong did not reject. This was indeed a matter of the entire Divine Kingdom, and he could not handle it alone. All right, we'll bring him to the main hall, and let everyone interrogate him. The third elder looked at them coldly and said, Follow them now, and don't play any tricks. If we were playing tricks, would we still be here? Yi Tianyan said calmly. Are you stupid, or are we stupid? Kid, you're quite arrogant, aren't you? The third elder's eyes were cold. All right, let's go. Yi Yuanlong walked over, and gestured for them to hurry up. In fact, his intention was to help Yi Tianyan. At the same time, he looked Yi Tianyan up and down, and a trace of kindness appeared on his solemn face. The third elder snorted coldly, and with a flick of his sleeves he led the way. He knew that with the second elder here, there was nothing he could do. He could only go up first, and when the time came he would be happy to let all the elders judge him. As Yi Yuanlong walked over, he asked in a deep voice, Where's Xingchen? Eunuch, it's a long story. Jiao Lingyi sighed. You'll know soon enough. This. Yi Yuanlong's face darkened, as if he had already sensed that something was wrong. However, he looked at Yi Tianyan and asked, Is this your and Xingchen's child? Yes, Jiao Lingyi answered truthfully. It's already grown up. Yi Yuanlong sighed deeply, and his solemn expression softened. It was obvious that he was not as strict or unreasonable as they had imagined. Soon after, under the guidance of the third elder, they arrived at the main hall, where many deacons and elders were already waiting. When Jiao Lingyi and the others entered, their gazes instantly focused on Yi Tianyan and Jiao Lingyi. They all recognized Jiao Lingyi. It was because of her that such a scandal had happened. How could they possibly forget about it? Although it was no longer spread outside, they still remembered it in their hearts. She's back. Everyone was shocked. No one had expected Jiao Lingyi to return. After all, there was no benefit for her to return, and she would only be imprisoned. I didn't expect it to be you, Vixen. How dare you come back? At this time, an old man walked over from the side and coldly looked at the Jiao Lingyi. His eyes were filled with surprise. However, his eyes were still focused on Yi Tianyan. Although he didn't ask anything, he had already confirmed it in his heart. I dare you to say that again. Yi Tianyan's eyes were cold, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Yo, you're quite arrogant. Do you know who you're talking to now? The old man in front of him was the great elder, a person who held great power. His cultivation was at the peak of Spirit King stage, and he was about to step into the Saint King stage. Chapter 709. It was not that Yi Tianyan was too arrogant, but that he should fight for his family and friends' dignity when he had the strength. Even if he did not have the strength, he had to die for his dignity. The most important thing for a cultivator was dignity. If he gave up on his dignity, there would be an inner demon that he could not get rid of even if he survived in the future. When that happened, it would be good enough if he did not go berserk, let alone breakthrough. People could lose, they could fail, but they must never give up on their dignity. Tianyan. Jiao Lingyi glared at him, signaling him to calm down. This was not their territory. She could still tolerate it, and would not fall out with him just because he called her a vixen. Yi Tianyan looked at Jiao Lingyi and did not say anything. Since his mother had said so, he would endure it. As expected of Xingchen's son. Your stubbornness is exactly the same as his, Grand Elder said coldly. The Great Elder said coldly, but this will only attract trouble. Didn't your mother teach you this? Do you need to care? Yi Tianyan said indifferently. You. Grand Elder almost exploded in anger. He was the Grand Elder, but the other party kept ignoring him. How could he not be angry? Enough. Yuanlong said coldly. That's enough. What's going on with Lingyi? You've been hiding for so many years. Why did you suddenly appear? Yuanlong did not think that he had brought his grandson to reunite with him. There must be something fishy. After all, his son was not here. Something happened, so I'm here to seek justice. Jiao Lingyi waved her hand, and a crystal coffin appeared in front of everyone. Everyone's eyes immediately gathered on it. When they took a closer look and realized that it was Yi Xingqian who was lying inside, most of them were shocked. My son. Yuanlong rushed to him. He could feel that his son's condition was terrible even through the crystal coffin. His breathing was weak, especially his blood qi. The first elder and the third elder looked at each other, a hint of delight in each other's eyes. However, this look disappeared in the blink of an eye, and no one knew. The rest of the people were stunned. The genius from back then had turned into such a state. It was truly shocking. The others gathered around and sighed when they saw this scene. What the hell is going on? How did things turn out like this? Yuanlong's eyes were filled with rage. He wanted to tear this person into pieces. Shortly after, Jiao Lingyi told him the gist of it, and Yuanlong's expression changed several times. Based on our situation, it's impossible for us to have provoked anyone, right? I suspect that it might be the doing of a ghost in the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Jiao Lingyi boldly voiced out her speculation. The heaven-sealing Divine Kingdom is a ghost's doing? Why are we doing this? What good would killing you do us? Moreover, Yi Xingqian is a genius of the heaven-sealing Divine Kingdom. He will definitely become a sage ruler in the future. Why would we send someone to kill him? The first elder snorted and laughed coldly. I'm afraid that you must have provoked someone to cause all this to happen to Yi Xingqian. That's right. It seems that not only are you a vixen, but you're also a scourge. The third elder scoffed. If it weren't for you, the heaven-sealing Divine Kingdom would have produced a sage ruler long ago, and he wouldn't be lying in a crystal coffin now. Moreover, words alone are no proof. What proof do you have? Everyone nodded, agreeing with their words. Especially when they said that it was the doing of the heaven-sealing Divine Kingdom. They were very dissatisfied. Under such circumstances, it was no different from slandering them without any proof. The first elder and the third elder's arguments were even more reasonable. Yi Xingqian was their future hope. How could they just give up on a sage ruler? This was undoubtedly a very wasteful matter, and they could not let it go no matter what. Although Yi Xingqian had made a huge mistake, the matter was already settled. They could not lock him up for the rest of his life, and would only continue to nurture him. No matter what, Yi Xingqian was a genius and a future pillar of support. How could they kill him? This was what most of the people thought, but Jiao Lingyi was watching coldly from the sidelines. Enough. Yuanlong growled. Is this the time to talk about this? Saving him is the most important thing. Yuanlong did not care what was going on. His son was lying in the crystal coffin, and it seemed like he was on the verge of death. As for what was going on, saving his son was the most important thing. He has been poisoned by the extremely vicious bloodthirsty poison. And it is a long-lost bloodthirsty poison at that. Who could be so vicious? Yuanlong was extremely furious. I have the bloodthirsty grass with me now, but I'm still missing 2 more ingredients. They are the Imperial Phoenix blood essence and the heavenly fragrance divine grass. Jiao Lingyi said from the side. This is the antidote that I have been searching for many years. It took me a lot of effort to find the bloodthirsty grass, and I'm only missing these 2 ingredients. No wonder you came here personally. So you have something to ask of us. You caused this trouble yourself, and now you want us to help you? Didn't you stop when you left before? The third elder's mouth was quite vicious, and he could not stop mocking them. To be honest, I can find these 2 ingredients myself, but you must have misunderstood something. We are not here to beg you for them, but for you to compensate us. Yi Tianyan said coldly. I highly suspect that this is the doing of the Fengtian godly nation. Apart from the Fengtian godly nation, no one else can do this. The one beside you is your son, right? I've seen him. His bloodline is ordinary, his cultivation is ordinary, and he is generally mediocre. In order to fight for power, to fight for the position of the next patriarch, or to seize more power, there is a high possibility that you want to kill my father. Do you admit it or not? Yi Tianyan said it directly, and he was even more direct than Jiao Lingyi. This was a taboo topic, and no one dared to say it out loud. However, many people in the inner circle knew about it. Now that he had brought it up, it was as if he had removed the last piece of cloth and placed their inner thoughts in front of everyone. Nonsense. The first elder said coldly. Would we destroy the future of the Fengtian godly nation for our own selfish desires? Yi Xingqian is the strongest prodigy, and he will be a great sage in the future. Would we give up on a sage king for our own selfish desires? You are an outsider, so don't doubt our loyalty. The first elder spoke in a righteous manner, as if he was ready to sacrifice himself for the Fengtian godly nation at any time. That's right, our son is mediocre, but he is still better than you. His bloodline is even worse, so how good can the rest of the fox spirit be? I've even checked him a long time ago, and he has a completely trashy bloodline. He is no different from an ordinary human. The third elder said mockingly. And you're telling me that you can collect the Imperial Phoenix blood essence and the heavenly fragrant divine herb? What a joke! Chapter 7:10. One by one, they said that it was absolutely impossible for them to encircle Yi Xingqian and the others for personal gain. Everyone around them was very convinced, but they didn't think that the two elders would do such a thing. If they did so, it wouldn't be good for the development of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Although Yi Tianyan pointed out the key problem, they still don't believe that they would do such a thing. They look so united. How could they do such a thing? Yi Yuanlong stood there with a gloomy face, as if he didn't hear anything. Find me the Imperial Phoenix blood essence and heavenly fragrant divine grass. If you don't have them, buy them for me. The second elder's aura broke out at this moment, causing many people's hearts to tremble. This is the aura of the second elder. Second elder, I know that you are eager to save your son. The heavenly fragrant divine grass is easy to find, but the Imperial Phoenix blood essence is very difficult to obtain. However, the Imperial Phoenix blood essence may not be available. It is quite difficult to obtain, unless you go to the netherworld to find it. The third elder walked out and interrupted. Then let's go to the ghost world. Yi Yuanlong said solemnly. It's not that easy to go to the ghost world. Now that the passage is blocked, we can only go through the mortal world. But if we send an ordinary cultivator down there, who knows if they will rob us halfway? Otherwise, the other party wouldn't trade for it, said the third elder. That's right. The third elder wasn't spouting nonsense. Regardless of whether or not he could obtain the Imperial Phoenix blood essence from the Phoenix clan, the price would definitely be extremely high if he could obtain it. If he wanted to go down there, his cultivation couldn't be too strong. At most, he would be at the early Spirit King stage. This would be difficult to go down there. And the key was that his cultivation was still relatively weak. If he was robbed along the way, not only would he not get the Imperial Phoenix blood essence, but he would also waste a lot of treasures. So, you mean I have no chance to save my son? Yi Yuanlong looked at the third elder coldly, and blue veins were popping out on his forehead. He was extremely angry. You can't say that. I can only say that I need to see if there's anything to replace it with. Otherwise, it'll be hard to solve this problem. The third elder smiled awkwardly. You haven't heard me out yet. Whether it's true or not, I'll have to ask him first. Yi Tianyan interrupted. What else is there to say? Not only did he slander us, he even ran away with his men, and only came back after being plotted against. A bastard like you dares to talk to me. The third elder flew into a rage. What he hated the most was juniors interrupting him. It was disrespectful and disgusting. Shut up. Jiao Lingyi scolded. Who are you calling a bastard? Yes, I'm scolding you, Pa. A heavy slap reverberated through the hall. However, the person who slapped him was neither Jiao Lingyi nor Yi Tianyan. It was Yi Tianyan's grandfather, Yi Yuanlong. Third elder, I'm warning you. Watch what you say. There are some things you don't have the right to say. Yi Yuanlong looked at him coldly. Send someone to find me the Imperial Phoenix blood essence and the heavenly fragrance divine grass. All right. Second elder, I didn't expect you to hit me. Do you think I didn't know? Yi Xingqian was locked up in the cage. If you hadn't secretly opened the door, how could he have escaped? The third elder waved his hand and continued. If you don't want people to know what you're doing, don't do it yourself. Second elder, you said that you're protecting the Fengtian divine kingdom. I didn't expect you to release him yourself. Do you think no one knows about this? Yi Xingqian is capable, but he doesn't have the ability to break out of the cage. Everything was started by you. Now that you've caused such a huge commotion, you need to use your resources. To be honest, with your current condition, you don't have the ability to use these resources. Both of them are extremely precious treasures. That was true. Both the Imperial Phoenix blood essence and the heavenly fragrance divine grass were extremely precious. An elder would not be able to use them. Second elder, you've gone too far. You're even speaking up for an outsider. Isn't she the vixen who seduced Yi Xingqian? If it weren't for her, we would have had a powerful descendant, and this wouldn't have happened. The first elder stepped forward and began to support the third elder. So you're saying that none of you are willing to save him? Yi Yuanlong said angrily. It's not that we don't want to save him. It's that he's made a huge mistake. He should have been locked up in the cage to reflect on his mistakes. Second elder, you've also made a huge mistake. It seems like you're suffering from a lack of blood. Even if you save him, he won't be able to live much longer. Or perhaps he won't have much of a future. The third elder calmly said. As a parent, we can understand that you can't give up on your child. However, if you want to exchange for these resources, you'll have to take out your trump card. Very well. It seems like the third elder has been eyeing my godly weapon for a long time. Yi Yuanlong's gaze turned cold. I'm not eyeing your godly weapon. Every elder only has a limited amount of resources to use. You can't be the only one taking them, right? What about us? We've worked so hard to find it. Are you going to take it away just like that? The third elder looked at Yi Xingqian and laughed coldly. It would have been fine if he hadn't turned out like this. Now that he's turned out like this, saving him would be a waste. It's none of my business if you want to waste it, but you can't waste our resources. The third elder is right. There are rules for this kind of thing. Have you forgotten, second elder? The first elder chimed in from the side. Very well, very well. Yi Yuanlong laughed coldly. Fine, I'll use that godly weapon to exchange for the royal phoenix blood essence and the heavenly fragrant divine herb. No, second elder, you've misunderstood. That godly weapon of yours can only be exchanged for one, not two. The third elder smiled sinisterly. One godly weapon alone can't be exchanged for two. Shut up. Yi Tianyan shouted again, attracting everyone's attention. Normally, juniors were not allowed to interrupt, but now he wanted the third elder to shut up. What did you say? The third elder was furious and interrupted again and again. He glared at Yi Tianyan and was about to speak when he happened to meet Yi Tianyan's gaze. Then he saw a special light in Yi Tianyan's eyes. Then his vision blurred and he felt as if his body was no longer his own. Then he really shut up and did not say a word. The others wanted to see how the third elder would get angry, but he really shut up. It's time to end this farce. You've talked so much nonsense, but you have no information at all. Your mouth is full of nonsense. Now let me see what you're really thinking. Chapter 7:11. When Yi Tianyan saw the third elder for the first time, he immediately felt that he had a chance. He didn't expect this guy's cultivation to be so low. He was only at the 5th layer of Spirit King stage. It was not high nor low, it was just in line with the highest standard of the Eye of Enchantment. If it was any higher, Yi Tianyan would have no other way to deal with it. At worst, he would just have to control their son. For this reason, Yi Tianyan told Jiao Lingyi not to worry as he had the Eye of Enchantment. If it weren't for the fact that this was the territory of the King of the Heavens, the King of the Heavens had helped to resist the invasion of the demon beasts, Yi Tianyan wouldn't have to worry about it. This was enough for Yi Tianyan to give Yi Tianyan some face. Moreover, Yi Tianyan had to give his grandfather some face. After all, he was also a descendant of the king of the heavens. If it was someone else, Tianyan would have already started punching them. What great elder? What third elder? Tianyan didn't want to waste time talking nonsense. He just wanted to beat them up without any hesitation. Now that Tianyan had taken control of the situation, the atmosphere was a bit tense. For some reason, the third elder didn't speak and just stared at Tianyan. Did you send people to surround my parents? Tianyan asked sternly. Yes, it was me and the great elder. We even sent a few experts to help, but we didn't expect them to run away. The third elder said with a dull look. As soon as the third elder said this, everyone was in an uproar. Initially, they denied it immediately, but in the blink of an eye, they changed their mind and told the truth. Why did you kill my parents? Tianyan continued to ask. Because Xingqian is a threat to our position. If this continues, the great elder won't be able to become the patriarch, and we won't be able to control the power anymore. So we killed Xingqian and his son. Even the roots have to be uprooted in order to prevent future troubles. The third elder continued. Third elder, what nonsense are you babbling about? The first elder was both shocked and angry. He immediately rushed over and wanted to punch him. However, Yuanlong had already stepped in front of the first elder and said coldly, whether or not he's talking nonsense is another matter. Now let's wait for him to finish speaking. His eyes were filled with killing intent, but he wasn't the least bit surprised, as if everything was within his expectations. When Jiao Lingyi said those words, Yuanlong's eyes were filled with killing intent. However, it wasn't directed at Jiao Lingyi and the others, but at the first elder and the third elder. He had been here for many years. To be able to sit in this position, he was definitely not a mediocre person. As soon as Jiao Lingyi said it, he immediately guessed it. What enmity could Jiao Lingyi have with Xingqian? How could Yuanlong not know that Jiao Lingyi lived in the mortal world? It was impossible for her to provoke an enemy not long after arriving in the heavenly realm. As for Xingqian, as the #1 genius, he indeed had many enemies. However, he had the backing of the Fengtian divine kingdom, so no one dared to touch him. If that was the case, there was a high possibility that there was a mole. The first elder was infuriated, but the anxiety in his eyes only deepened. He wanted to stop the third elder, but Yuanlong blocked his way, making it impossible for him to go over. Unless he fought with Yuanlong, but if he did, it would mean that he had a guilty conscience. If he fought with his own people, what else could it be other than guilty conscience? If he was full of lies, it wouldn't matter if he spoke freely, but if he tried to stop him, then there was definitely a problem. Tell me the general situation. Tianyan gestured for the third elder to continue. Then the third elder continued to explain the details of the plan, and why they were doing it. It was definitely very detailed. It was his doing, how could it not be detailed? The more Jiao Lingyi listened, the angrier she became. She gritted her teeth and wanted to stab the third elder with a knife. However, after her anger subsided, she suddenly thought of why the third elder would suddenly reveal the truth. At this time, she noticed Tianyan's behavior. Whatever Tianyan asked, Tianyan would answer. Without a doubt, it had something to do with him. She recalled what Tianyan said previously. Leave everything to him and don't worry about anything. Now it seemed that he was right. She immediately asked the third elder to reveal the truth and explain the details of the entire process. Everyone was dumbfounded after hearing it. The surrounding disciples who originally hated Jiao Lingyi and the others were now stunned. They did not expect such a thing to really happen, especially when they said that it was impossible for them to do such a thing. But now they had done it, and they had done a lot of it. They were worse than they appeared, and they were extremely vicious. Pa! Tianyan flicked his finger, and the third elder returned to his normal state. At this time his face was pale, and he looked at Tianyan in disbelief. He screamed, "You, what did you do to me? I was lying just now. It's definitely not true. Everything was his doing. I don't know what kind of evil curse he cast on me to make me like this." He continued to scream and defend himself. It was impossible for him to have done it. At this time, everyone's gazes were focused on Tianyan. They had a strange expression on their faces. Could it be that everything was done by Yi Tianyan? The problem was that this was the third elder. A dignified elder like him had been cursed by a young man. And he still didn't know it was impossible, right? Unless Yi Tianyan's cultivation was stronger. Lies. Yi Tianyan laughed coldly. Do you think I made it up? If that's the case, I beg the second elder to search my soul. If there is even the slightest bit of falsehood, I am willing to leave my life here and accept any punishment. I think if you are willing to accept the search, it won't affect you too much, right? He laughed coldly. He was absolutely sure that they were the ones who had done it. If he searched his soul, he would definitely be able to obtain detailed memories. However, whether he was willing to be searched or not was another matter. I agree too. If you can't find any relevant memories, you can do whatever you want to me, or I will continue to work for the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Jiao Lingyi stood up. She didn't think that Yi Tianyan had asked the third elder to say it. Even if Yi Tianyan had asked the third elder to say it, it was impossible for him to say it in such detail. The great elder and the third elder's faces darkened. If their souls were really searched, they would be finished. You are slandering me. What right do you have to search my soul? Everything was caused by your evil curse. Moreover, do you think your lives are valuable? If my soul is damaged, do you think your lives are worth anything? The third elder made a final struggle. If their souls were searched, everything would be over. What about these treasures? Yi Tianyan took out a divine sword. It was an evil spirit divine sword, and it steadily stabbed into the ground. Black energy surged around it. As long as one wasn't blind, they could see that it was a divine weapon. Chapter 7:12. Yi Tianyan threw out a divine weapon, which was really shocking. The third elder and the others wanted a divine weapon from the second patriarch. Even though there were many divine weapons in the God Nation, only a few people had them. Even for the powerful patriarchs like them, it was already good to have one. The three of them did have a divine weapon, but it was also divided into good and bad ones. The second patriarch Yi Yuanlong's was quite good, so they wanted it very much. With two divine weapons, they would definitely be able to increase their power greatly. Divine weapon? Even Yi Yuanlong was shocked. This young man actually had a divine weapon, which was really shocking. Jiao Lingyi was also shocked. She had to admit that the temptation was hard to resist. If the soul search didn't reveal anything about this, then this divine weapon would be compensation. If there was anything about this, then they could forget about it, and they might even be punished. The third elder and the others smacked their lips. If there was really nothing, then it was really worth it. Normally, if one didn't resist the soul search, then nothing would happen. Even if something did happen, it would at most be a little bit of damage. A little bit of damage as compensation for a divine weapon was really a great thing. But did he dare to ask for it? Not enough. Yi Tianyan threw out another divine weapon. This was the evil spirit armor, which was also one of the divine weapons. When everyone saw it, they were stunned again. They didn't expect there to be another divine weapon, and it was an armor. Divine weapons were usually used for weapons, and armor was less common. Making them required more materials, so they were more precious than weapons. Two divine weapons. How did you get them? They were all shocked. Who said it wasn't enough? Hurry up and step out. No one said it was not enough, but Yi Tianyan threw out such a shocking bargaining chip, making it hard for everyone to breathe. What? Still not enough. Yi Tianyan threw out the evil spirit boots again. It was another divine weapon, but this was a pair of boots, which added up to a full set. How terrifying. It was rare to see a set. Usually, it was already good to see a divine weapon, and a full set was even rarer and priceless. Instantly, everyone's eyes were filled with greed. This was simply a rare existence. Little did they know that Yi Tianyan often had set equipment. With his powerful luck aura, he had always had set equipment since a long time ago. This ghoul set was the divine artifact set that dropped from killing Imperial Preceptor Ji Yang. However, he didn't need it, and it was very evil. Ordinary people couldn't control it. Yi Tianyan would have no problem wearing it, but the evil spirit set was stronger and more evil. It didn't matter if the equipment had evil qi, but it depended on who was using it. As long as it didn't harm others, it wouldn't be a problem. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Who was the one who said it wasn't enough? The problem was that no one said anything. Of course, no one said anything. After throwing out one item, no one would say that it was not enough. It could completely make up for everything. However, in order to increase the impact, Tianyun had increased the bargaining chip to make the third elder willing to search his soul. In any case, his memory wouldn't be wrong, so this set wouldn't be given away. He wasn't a fool. He wouldn't give a divine set to someone else for free. Of course he's willing. If there's no problem with his memory, the third elder would have made a killing. This is a set, a divine set. This is the first time I've seen one. That's right, it's my first time seeing one too. It's rare to see a divine set, but now I've seen 3, and they're all part of a set. This is too scary. I think the scariest thing is why he has a divine set. It seems like he has the ability to save Yi Xingqian. Why didn't he save him? The surrounding disciples discussed, finding it unbelievable. To have a divine set at such a young age, no one knew where he had gotten it from. Where did you get this equipment? The third elder said in a low voice. Why do you care where I got it from? As long as you search my soul. If it doesn't match what you said, then this divine set is yours. That should be enough to make up for the damage to your soul, right? Tianyun said indifferently. Sure, Shuayun smiled on the side. Although it was a little shocking, it was normal to think about it. Tianyun was a man who could create miracles, a man who belonged to her. You don't know the origin of this equipment. If you stole it from someone else, wouldn't I be the scapegoat? The third elder didn't immediately agree. Instead, he refused to accept it, thinking that it was stolen goods. Tianyun stared at him like an idiot and sneered. Steal from someone else? Then my ability is really not small. To be able to steal from the hands of a super master, it must be my ability. Everyone nodded in agreement, thinking that it shouldn't be a theft. It's possible that Tianyun obtained some kind of inheritance or encountered some kind of opportunity. This kind of set was used as a protective artifact by Saint King stage masters. How could it be stolen? If it was taken away, there was only one possibility, and that was being killed. No, I don't accept this equipment of unknown origin. With your ability, it's absolutely impossible for you to obtain it. I refuse. The third elder said righteously. I have always hated stealing, and I don't accept things of unknown origin. This is my principle. These words were said casually, but in Tianyun's ears, it was like a fart. If it wasn't for the fact that Tianyun had done something shameful, they would have wanted to rob it in person. To the other disciples, they felt that the third elder was a noble person with unquestionable integrity. Whether it was the great elder or the third elder, when they saw this set of equipment, their eyes lit up, and there was no trace of reluctance on their faces. However, they absolutely couldn't allow their souls to be searched, otherwise they would be finished. This set of equipment, I accepted on behalf of the third elder. At this time, an old man walked out from the inside door. He looked very old, as if he was half a step into a coffin and was about to die. He looked too old, as if he had lived for many years. He walked over step by step with a cane in his hand, but his eyes didn't have the slightest hint of age, nor the slightest turbidity. If one simply looked at his eyes, they wouldn't be inferior to the young man's eyes. However, he didn't show any imposing manner. Instead, he seemed like an amiable old man. Patriarch. Although this was a divine kingdom, the leader didn't call himself the king or holy lord, they just called him patriarch. They were originally a family, so they had always maintained their previous appellation. This was the current patriarch of Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Chapter 713. The current patriarch walked out with a cane. In Fengtian Divine Kingdom, he could be said to be the person with the highest authority. In the eyes of the other forces of Fengtian Divine Kingdom, he was equivalent to the king. When he came out, everyone respectfully shouted, "Patriarch!" Their voices were full of respect. No one dared to disrespect him. Respect from the bottom of their hearts. It's just that he's getting old and ready to abdicate. No wonder the competition is so fierce. The three elders are basically candidates for the next patriarch, but to become a candidate, it's not just a matter of having a strong cultivation. There must be requirements in all aspects such as personal prestige, the situation of one's own children, etc. These are all absolute requirements. Yi Tianyan squinted his eyes and looked at the old man. The patriarch of Fengtian Divine Kingdom's real name is Suo Kaifeng, but everyone calls him patriarch. After all, it's a great disrespect. And Suo Kaifeng slowly walked out and looked at Yi Tianyan up and down, saying with a sigh, I didn't expect little Star's child to be so old. At such a young age, he already has such a strong cultivation. It's really amazing. His cultivation is much stronger than Yi Tianyun's, plus he has the pure bloodline power of the King of the Heavens, so he can feel that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is very strong. However, he doesn't know the details. He only knows that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is not bad. He doesn't have appraisal eyes, so how can he know that Yi Tianyan is wearing the desolate ancient set? This is his biggest advantage, as well as his crazy mode. Before erupting, he's already a powerful first-layer Saint King Stage Master. And after erupting, even a peak Saint King Stage Master would find it difficult to stop him. Many thanks for the Patriarch's praise. Yi Tianyan said respectfully, although the third elder and the great elder gave him a very bad impression. And it can even be said that their overall impression was very poor. After all, they were very resistant to their bloodline power, and even privately scolded him for being a bastard. But the patriarch in front of him is different. He can feel the patriarch's sincere appreciation. Patriarch, what did you say? The third elder was dumbfounded. When Suo Kaifeng came out just now, he said that he would accept the equipment set on his behalf. Did this mean that his memory would be searched? I'm talking about helping your subordinate with this set of equipment. Since the younger generation wants to offer such a shocking divine weapon, there's no need to care about where it came from. Suo Kaifeng said indifferently. I heard everything you said earlier. Since you claim to be innocent, we can't waste this set of equipment. It would be considered a national treasure of our Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Don't worry, I'll be personally in charge of searching your soul. With my abilities, as long as you don't resist, it won't hurt your soul at all. Moreover, if they were searching for ordinary memories, the damage would be even smaller. I don't need the martial arts in your head. Letting me search your soul is undoubtedly the best choice. Suo Kaifeng's soul search was undoubtedly the best choice. He was about to step into his coffin, and he didn't care about any martial arts. What martial arts didn't he know in the Fengtian Divine Kingdom? What others knew he knew. What others didn't know he knew. Cultivators could live for a long time, but it was extremely rare for them to live to the end of their lives. The fact that Suo Kaifeng could live to this day meant that he had a good character, and was very strong. Otherwise he wouldn't have been able to live to this day. But, the third elder was dumbfounded. Originally he could still find an excuse. Now that the patriarch had said that he could accept it, what else could he say? Rebel against the patriarch? Wouldn't that be rebelling against the entire Fengtian Divine Kingdom? The first elder's face darkened. Didn't this mean that their actions were finally going to be exposed? What else do you have to say this time? Suo Kaifeng said. You can say it. Why don't you want to accept the soul search? Could it be that the two of you really did something shameful like what they said? No. The third elder's face was pale, but his tone was very weak. If you didn't, why didn't you search my soul? Suo Kaifeng said coldly. Are you going to search my soul as well? Or what do you want? No. Patriarch, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done such a thing. Please let me go. The third elder could only kneel down and kowtow under the pressure. He had no choice but to admit to what he had done. What other excuse could he come up with? He had no more excuses. If his soul was searched, he might as well admit it now. When he kowtowed, the crowd immediately became angry. They didn't expect him to continue to quibble after being seen through by Yi Tianyan. Now that he was finally willing to admit it, the crowd was furious. The third elder and the first elder really did it? I didn't expect them to be the culprit. They kept saying that they weren't the culprit behind Yi Xingchen's death, but who knew that they were the culprit? Damn it, doesn't this mean that we've blamed the wrong people? This isn't sorcery. They really said it. This is too scary. They really made them tell the truth. But this third elder and the first elder are too disgusting. They're willing to do anything just for power. All of them were filled with righteous indignation. They wanted nothing more than to beat them up. Yi Xingqian was their future powerhouse. Now that he was half crippled, it would be difficult for him to catch up in the future. For their own sake, they had done such a disgusting thing. It was truly disgusting. Patriarch, we were wrong. We were blinded by greed. Please give us another chance. We won't do it again. The first elder also knelt down. The third elder had already knelt down, which meant that everything had been exposed. If he did not quickly admit his mistake, the consequences would undoubtedly be even more severe. You two. Yi Yuanlong kicked angrily. The force was so great that it caught the third elder off guard. With a thud, the third elder, who was closest to him, was sent flying. He spat out blood in the air. Even though the third elder's cultivation was not low, he could not react to the sudden kick. He then glared at the first elder and said coldly, I've guessed it before, but I didn't expect the two of you to really do this. We're of the same clan. I didn't expect the two of you to do this. What's the point of killing each other? Isn't this power? Isn't it just the position of patriarch? What do you get by becoming the patriarch? Wasn't it just to obtain more resources and more authority? My son has become a sacrifice. Yi Yuanlong was furious. He wanted to kill them with his sword, but with the patriarch here, he could not do so. Everything was decided by Suo Kaifeng. He did not have the right to decide. The first elder remained silent. He did not plan to defend himself. The matter was already settled. What else could he say? Yi Tianyan kept his equipment and said calmly, Looks like I don't have to give away my equipment. Chapter 7:14. As expected, you were the ones who ambushed us. We were already thinking of leaving the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, but you were still so ruthless. Zhao Lingyi's eyes were red. If not for these two beasts, she would have descended to the mortal world with Yi Xingqian a long time ago. Yi Tianyan would not have suffered so much. It was all because of these two beasts that they ended up like this. They had separated mother and son, and Yi Xingqian had fallen into a deep slumber. His cultivation had dropped significantly, and too much time had been wasted. When the truth was revealed, Zhao Lingyi trembled with anger. Although she had already expected it, she was still furious when it was announced. What a good fratricide. I didn't expect you to murder your own clansmen for this position. Suo Kaifeng looked at the two of them coldly and said sternly, Do you think this is meaningful? If there are no experts to protect the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, even if you are clan leaders, you can only watch helplessly as your empire is taken away. Of course, I know what all of you want to do by sitting in this position. It's nothing more than to cultivate the most powerful and supreme techniques. But are you qualified now? Suo Kaifeng's aura completely exploded. At this point, no one felt that he was a dying man. Instead, it was as if he was still in the prime of his youth, invincible. The terrifying aura caused the hearts of the surrounding people to tremble. After so long, the clan leader's power was still as terrifying as ever. The first elder and the others had gloomy expressions. The third elder had already crawled to his feet. He covered the place where he had been kicked and lowered his head, not daring to raise it. They were afraid of the clan leader. With their strength, how could they resist? Moreover, even if you don't become clan leaders, you can still cultivate supreme martial arts. There are no rules for that, Suo Kaifeng said coldly. What? The two of them raised their heads in shock. Even the others looked at Suo Kaifeng in shock, not knowing what he meant. The two of them wanted to become clan leaders for the secret supreme martial arts, which was equivalent to the inheritance of the King of the Heavens. Only the patriarch could obtain it. But now Suo Kaifeng said that he didn't need it. Wasn't he fooling around? It's not wrong to want to cultivate supreme martial arts, but there has always been a rule. As long as one's contribution is large enough and one's ability is not bad, one can cultivate it. Not allowing you to cultivate is largely because your Dao heart is not firm enough. With your current Dao heart, how are you going to cultivate? Suo Kaifeng said coldly. Killing fellow tribesmen is a rule of the Fengtian divine kingdom. Do you remember? The two of them shuddered, and their eyes were filled with terror. Patriarch, we were wrong. We were really wrong. We were blinded by greed. Please give us another chance. We can cure Yixingchen. No matter what it is, we will find it. Yeah, we don't want to be crippled. That's no different from dying. Their faces were filled with fear. Who would want to have their cultivation destroyed? That was basically no different from a cripple. They were still elder-level figures. After their cultivations were crippled, what status would they have left? Their great futures would be ruined just like that. Their sons had ugly expressions on their faces, but there was nothing they could do to stop it. Killing fellow tribesmen, cripple their cultivations, and lock them in jail until they die. Suo Kaifeng said coldly. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. You have to pay the price for what you have done. No. Yixingchen's escape is equivalent to betraying the Fengtian divine kingdom. He is no longer a tribesman of the Fengtian divine kingdom. The first elder immediately explained. We are punishing them, to let them know the consequences of betraying the Fengtian divine kingdom. This time he came up with another reason. Everyone was taken aback, but after thinking about it carefully, they realized that it was true. Yixingchen had eloped with Jiao Lingyi, so how could he still be considered a tribesman of the Fengtian divine kingdom? It would not be a problem for them to get rid of him. Suo Kaifeng was taken aback, but he did not say anything. Yixingchen had betrayed the Fengtian divine kingdom, so his death really had nothing to do with them. You make it sound so nice. Do you think they won't return for the rest of their lives? Do you think he would have left if you hadn't pressured him? Yuanlong said coldly. If you think that he is a traitor, then I will take revenge on Xingchen's behalf and cripple your cultivation. Ha ha ha, but we are of the same tribe. Crippling my cultivation is against the rules. The third elder sneered. No matter what the reason is, Yixingchen has betrayed the Fengtian divine kingdom, so he is no longer of the same tribe. They did not expect that they would find a loophole at this critical juncture, leaving the clan leader speechless. Yuanlong was taken aback. His face darkened, and he clenched his fists tightly. If he had made a move, it would have been true. Although they had done something wrong, they were still members of the same tribe. This was a rule set by the King of the Heavens, and no one could break it. That was why the clan leader had given the order. Now that they had found a loophole, Yuanlong wanted to vomit blood. The first elder and the third elder stood up, their eyes filled with glee. They had been forced to confess previously. Now that they thought about it, Yixingchen was no longer a disciple of the Fengtian divine kingdom, so what if they killed him? The sudden turn of events left many people dumbfounded. They could not deny that they had lied to the crowd, but they had not done anything wrong. Jiao Lingyi was also not a disciple of the Fengtian divine kingdom. She was not even married into the Fengtian divine kingdom, so how could they make a move? Then let me deal with you and take revenge on behalf of my father. Yi Tianyun stood up calmly and waved his hand. The evil spirit divine sword appeared in his hand, and a demonic aura wrapped around his arm. He said coldly, I am not a disciple of the Fengtian divine kingdom, so I will not be punished for attacking you. What a joke! You are not a disciple of the Fengtian divine kingdom. Attacking us is equivalent to making an enemy of the Fengtian divine kingdom. Can you bear the consequences? The third elder looked at him coldly, his eyes full of mockery. He had spent so much effort, but in the end, it was all for naught. This made him feel quite satisfied. Making an enemy of the Fengtian divine kingdom? Yi Tianyun said calmly, I have no objections. If the Fengtian divine kingdom insists on making trouble for me, I will spare their lives on account of the King of the Heavens. However, I will not hold back the second time. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. They did not expect Yi Tianyun to dare to say such things. This was a divine kingdom, not an ordinary faction. Jiao Lingyi was stunned. She had told her son not to be so rash, but he still said it. However, she chose to stand by Yi Tianyun. She did not want to see the two of them get away scot-free. Chapter 7:15. Life and Death Duel? Most of the people were stunned. Was this kid out of his mind? He actually chose a life and death duel. These two couldn't wait to kill him, but now he said he wanted a life and death duel. What a fool. Absolutely not. Yuanlong hurried to dissuade. This was his own grandson. How could he watch his grandson enter the tiger's mouth? All right. The third elder laughed and said, "You said it. You can't change your mind. Didn't you say you wanted to deal with the two of us? Kid, you're really arrogant. You want to deal with us one by one. It's good enough that you can win against me." "Yes. I'm not shameless like you two. I won't change my mind." Tianyan pointed at them and said, "I said you two come at me together. I don't want you two to come at me alone. Do you understand?" Domineering. Absolutely domineering. One person against two elders. His head must have been kicked by a donkey. Although it sounded domineering, everyone felt that Tianyan was an idiot. He couldn't deal with them one by one. Why did he have to deal with two? Jiao Lingyi and the others' faces changed. This was a very dangerous thing. As elders, how could they not have some ability? Especially when they worked together, they were absolutely invincible. "Son, you can't do this. Their cultivation is not that simple." Jiao Lingyi hurried to dissuade. "Mother, there's no need to say any more. I've made up my mind." Tianyan said indifferently. "Sister, there's no need to say any more. Believe in Tianyan." Shi Shuiyan pulled Jiao Lingyi's hand. She signaled her to calm down and not be so worried. She had never been worried. She trusted Tianyan unconditionally. If Tianyan really died one day, she would die with him. It was no big deal. But these are two elders. Jiao Lingyi was still very worried. She had seen Tianyan's power, but the two elders in front of her were not ordinary elders. They were divine king martial arts elders, and were much stronger than the bandits outside. For example, those robbers cultivated low-grade heaven-ranked martial arts, while they cultivated high-grade heaven-ranked martial arts. Just the difference in martial arts was huge. They were not on the same level at all. When it came to martial arts, there was a huge gap between them. Under the same cultivation level, a high-tier heaven-level martial art would definitely be able to crush an expert of the same cultivation level. And it could even be used to battle a level or two higher. The Great Elder was a peak Spirit King stage expert, and if he fought with a Saint King stage expert, he would be able to hold his own against them for at least 100 moves. Now that he had to deal with two of them, the difficulty was even more shocking. In other words, it was no different from courting death. "Child, you can't be so impulsive. I know you are very angry, but they are not that easy to deal with. If you want a life and death duel, then let me do it." Yuanlong gritted his teeth and finally stood up. "I will participate in the life and death duel. Even if I have to be punished, I will not let my child bear it." In the end, he would rather be punished and fight with the two of them to the end. Watching the two of them get away with it would inevitably form a heart demon over time. So he might as well vent his anger today. "Grandpa, I can deal with them," Tianyan said indifferently. "Trust me." Tianyan looked at Yuanlong with burning eyes, and after a moment, Yuanlong seemed to see his son's unwavering eyes. No matter how many people tried to dissuade him, he still married Jiao Lingyi and eloped with Jiao Lingyi. He knew that there was no way to change it, so he could only let his son go. "Clan leader, I wonder if you approve of this life and death duel?" Tianyan smiled lightly. "This is completely a personal duel. It will not involve any factions. It is purely a life and death duel." Although others felt that his head had been kicked, those who knew Tianyan's strength knew that he was not joking. So what if it was the Fengtian Divine Kingdom? Suo Kaifeng was silent for a moment, then nodded. The Fengtian Divine Kingdom does not prohibit life and death duels, especially for outsiders. If you agree, I can be a witness. Tianyan was not considered a member of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. After all, he had not joined. "Thank you, clan leader," Tianyan said gratefully. He did not want to involve the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. He still wanted to borrow its strength, and even if his father woke up, he did not want to see the Fengtian Divine Kingdom destroyed. "Kid, are you sure you are right? If we win, you will give us your divine artifact? Life and death? Do you want to wear the divine artifact later?" The third elder asked loudly, staring at the weapon in his hand, as if he was ready to take it. After all, a divine artifact was too rare, and it was a life and death duel. It was undoubtedly very harsh. Yes, life and death. As long as you can defeat me or kill me, the divine artifact is yours. I will only use this sword. I will not wear anything else. Tianyan repeated calmly. The first elder and the third elder's eyes lit up, and they immediately agreed. Okay, no problem, life and death. Their eyes were filled with malice. Since life and death was not a matter of life and death, they would definitely not let Tianyan go. Previously, Tianyan had exposed the third elder. He would definitely not let him go. If that happened, not only would he lose his life, but he would also lose the divine artifact. It was really a loss of life and equipment. The others shook their heads. Although they had seen the shameless side of the two elders, they had to admit that Tianyan's side was even more stupid, and no one would sympathize with a fool. Where should we fight? Tianyan asked calmly. Here. There is no need to go outside. If you can break this hall, then you are strong, Suo Kaifeng said. Okay, the venue will be here. Is there any problem? Tianyan looked at them and said. Of course there is no problem. It is the same for us. The third elder said indifferently. Although you said that two people can deal with you, as your seniors, we won't take advantage of you. Let me deal with you. As you wish. Since you want to die so much, I welcome you. Tianyan gestured. You can make your move. At this time, everyone had already retreated a little, giving them some space to fight. The hall was quite spacious. Unless they were running away, it was definitely enough for a fight. Kid, it seems that you are quite arrogant. The third elder laughed coldly. If that is the case, then I will not be polite. I will say the ugly words first. Swords have no eyes. Second elder, if you want to die before you, then don't blame me. The third elder waved his hand, and a long staff fell into his hand. This was a divine artifact long staff, which meant that Tianyan's divine artifact would not be able to gain much of an advantage. Chapter 7:16. It was shocking that Tianyan had a divine artifact, but the third elder also had a divine artifact, so the gap between the two of them was instantly closed. Some of them even thought that Tianyan was an idiot. Why would he choose to use a divine artifact instead of a divine artifact? There was already a gap between the two of them, and the opponent was an elder. If Tianyan didn't wear a divine artifact, his chance of winning would be greatly reduced. Does this kid think that the third elder doesn't have a divine artifact? Does he think that he is powerful just because he has a divine artifact? It's possible. It's not a good thing to be overconfident, but if he goes back on his words, he will lose his face. If it were me, I would definitely go back on my words. Can face be eaten? Life is more important. Especially if I lose, I won't even have a divine artifact. I'm not that stupid. Everyone said that Tianyan is really unwise. He should inherit Xingqian's bloodline. How could he be so impulsive? Yuanlong didn't say a word as he looked at the third elder coldly. In fact, he had already made up his mind. If Tianyan was in danger, he would save him at all costs. Even if it was against the rules, he had to save him. After all, this was his grandson. Enough of your nonsense. Stop wasting time, and make your move. If you don't make your move, then it will be my turn to make my move. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Tianyan signaled him to make his move. He stood at the side with the evil spirit divine sword in his hand. It seemed like he didn't care about the third elder at all. I don't know how Xingqian gave birth to you. You are too arrogant and don't know how to keep a low profile. If that's the case, then I will teach you a lesson on behalf of Xingqian. I will teach you what it means to keep a low profile. The third elder raised his staff and rushed towards Tianyan. His fifth-layer Spirit King stage cultivation burst out, and in an instant, he turned into a shadow. He did not unleash his full strength, but at least 80% of it. The main reason was that Tianyan's previous actions were too infuriating, and he wanted to take revenge. In the blink of an eye, the third elder was already in front of Tianyan. He swung the long staff in his hand and smashed it down. A terrifying power appeared behind him. If one looked closely, they would find that it was actually a bolt of divine thunder. No one stipulated what their hollow spirit could be. It could be a person, a weapon, or any kind of demonic beast. The third elder's attack was like a bolt of lightning. The long staff in his hand was covered with lightning. It looked like he was holding a bolt of lightning. He fiercely whipped it towards Yi Tianyan. Once hit by this force, he would definitely die. Rushing Thunder Rod. The third elder's eyes flashed with lightning, and his body was covered with lightning as if he was the god of thunder. When Yi Tianyan is about to hit Yi Tianyan, Yi Yuanlong on the side immediately moved. His speed is faster than the third elder, but it seems that he can't stop Yi Tianyan anymore. He can only shout, "Stop!" He hadn't expected that the third elder would be so ruthless. He had used a killing move as soon as he made his move. Even an expert at the same level as him would be seriously injured by this strike. Get lost! Yi Tianyan's eyes turned cold, and he waved the evil spirit divine sword in his hand. In an instant, countless evil spirits roared out of the evil spirit divine sword, and rushed towards the third elder. It's just an evil spirit. Break it! The third elder's lightning flashed, and a bolt of divine thunder struck towards the evil spirit divine sword. But as soon as the divine thunder struck the evil spirit divine sword, it was immediately swallowed by the evil spirits. Following that, the evil spirit roared and rushed over, enveloping his entire body in an instant. The third elder's eyes were filled with countless evil spirits, and he couldn't see them clearly. The key was that these evil spirits immediately entered his brain, and even his soul, and started to eat crazily. He couldn't block them, and a lot of his soul was eaten. Ah! The pain in his soul made the third elder's attack loosen, and he immediately fell to the ground, holding his head and screaming. His face started to turn black, and blood started to flow out of his 7 orifices. It was a tragic sight. The third elder, who had an extraordinary aura, couldn't even block a single sword strike. The evil spirits were terrifying, and the third elder should have been able to break them, especially the divine thunder, which could destroy all evil spirits. Who would have thought that the evil spirits would be swallowed, and that they would lose their ability to fight? You can slowly endure the devouring of this evil spirit, and eat your disgusting soul bit by bit. Yi Tianyan raised his head and looked at the first elder, who was shocked, and said calmly, "It's your turn. Let's begin." The third elder was crippled, just like that. As long as one wasn't blind, they could see that he had been hit, and it was a very serious one. If this continued, his soul would definitely be devoured by the evil spirits. The crowd gasped. They didn't expect Yi Tianyan's strength to be so terrifying, to be able to cripple the third elder in one move. Was this the effect of a godly weapon? It was so abnormal. However, they were both using godly weapons, so why was the difference between them so huge? There was only one explanation, and that was that Yi Tianyan's cultivation was really strong. Yi Yuanlong, who had rushed forward, was dumbfounded. He had thought that he would need to save his grandson, but who knew that he would need to save him? Yi Tianyan had taken care of the third elder in one move, and he had purposely held back. Otherwise, with one slash, the third elder would have been cut in half. "Grandpa, I've said it before. Trust me." Yi Tianyan smiled faintly. Good. Yi Yuanlong nodded his head heavily, and his heart was filled with excitement. This was his grandson, and he was so strong. Who said that the strength of an outsider who married someone else must be weak? His grandson was so young, and yet he could easily kill the third elder. This alone was enough to prove himself. "Sister, I told you not to worry, right?" Shi Shuiyin smiled, and her words were filled with trust for Yi Tianyan. Suppress with one move. This third elder is much stronger than the 4 bandits. Jiao Lingyi was shocked, and she was worried that it would be unnecessary for her to just stand there and worry. However, they still couldn't relax. There was still a real opponent, and that was the first elder. The first elder was very strong, and he was many times stronger than the third elder. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sit in the position of the first elder. Suo Kaifeng's eyes lit up. He didn't do anything to save the third elder, and he just stood there and watched coldly. Because he was only a witness, He couldn't do anything unless they fought to the death. After all, this was a battle of life and death, and it wasn't something that could be achieved by simply surrendering. Although they were elders, some elders would only be a scourge if they stayed, and they would only harm their own clansmen. What was the point of staying? However, his heart was still desolate. If he lost 2 elders, it would be very painful. However, there was no other way. He could only wait and see if Yi Tianyan could defeat the first elder. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.